EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. The week is moving right along. That Super Bowl is moving more and more into the past as we roll on in the offseason here, and plenty to talk about on this Thursday edition of Birds 365. Johnny Mac, how you doing in this Thursday morning, brother?
Doing well. Happy Kevin Patullo Day for all those who celebrate.
And I'd like to give a congratulations as well to all the listeners of Birds 365 who had a month to prepare for Kevin Patullo Day this year, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, I mean, it became pretty clear behind the scenes that he was going to be the guy. I think he would have been the offensive coordinator before this, to be honest, if Nick Sirianni had his druthers. So, the fact that we talked about a lot about the accomplishment of winning a Super Bowl, what that does for a player. It also does a lot for a coach.
Right.
And you see not only with the elevation of Kevin, but also bringing in Parks Frazier as the new passing game coordinator. You see the added heft behind Nick Sirianni after winning the Super Bowl championship, because, he didn't get to do this last year, to be blunt. And he worked with Parks in Indianapolis, so he's familiar with him. Obviously, he's been best friends with Kevin Patullo for years. That's been his right-hand man since he got here in the organization, the associate head coach, and now he had the heft to make the move.
There you go. Nick Sirianni hires Kevin Patullo as your offensive coordinator, Parks Frazier as your passing game coordinator, and here we are off to the races now as we prep to move on in the offseason. Johnny Mac, you just mentioned a couple interesting things there with obviously Nick Sirianni earning more cachet, as a word we like to use on Birds 365, earning more of that here with the win, which I think is fair, but I do understand both sides of this, so let's run through it. Well, before we get into the pros and cons of Kevin Patullo, and I do think there are some that are worth mentioning on both sides of the aisle, can you give everybody a little bit of a background, John, on Kevin Patullo, where he came from? I know he's been here 4 years with Nick Sirianni, but give the people a background on Kevin Patullo, because I must have got 10 messages last night, John. Who the hell is Kevin Patullo? I said, you don't listen to Birds 365. And I put a little slash on him. But can you give the people a background on Kevin?
Well, most recently is the associate head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, so you should know who he was. He's been the pass game coordinator since Nick Sirianni got here. If you go back to Nick Sirianni, there were signs early on. One of the first things Nick said is, Kevin helps me out. This is back in 2021. It helps me out with logistical stuff and setting up coaching interviews. And he was talking about Kevin Patullo. So he was, he wasn't the first hire he made. He was very close. And that's how they were neighbors in Indianapolis when they were together out there. So they're very close from a personal perspective. And they trust each other. Nick had just mentioned down at the Super Bowl, he runs everything by Kevin Patullo. Every decision he makes, he runs by Kevin Patullo. So a lot of those assistant head coaches, associate head coach titles are kind of overblown, the reason to give somebody a higher paycheck, but not in the case of Kevin. He's been very important for this organization since he's gotten here. So then I think the next question is, well, why wasn't he the offensive coordinator? Well, circumstance. When you move on from Shane Steichen because you had to, there was concern in the organization, which it's always ironic when this happens. They didn't want to lose Brian Johnson. Brian was getting interviews all over the place to be an offensive coordinator when he was the Eagles quarterbacks coach. Carolina would have hired him. Green Bay probably would have hired him. A couple other teams had a ton of interest. So the belief was, well, if we don't make him the offensive coordinator, we're going to lose him. And ironic, they lost the next year, had a because they wanted to, because he didn't live up to the expectations. So I think he would have gotten the job there. And last year, there was no opportunity. I mean, Eagles can spin it any way they want. I think they recovered nicely from what I talked about in the offseason, that I didn't like the setup. And by that, I meant I don't like preventing the head coach from doing what he wants to do. I think if you're going to have somebody be the head coach, I think you should let him be the head coach.
Right.
Sort of my philosophy. And the Eagles kind of straddled that fence and made him go outside the organization. And they certainly salvaged the situation. They won the Super Bowl, but there was no opportunity for Nick Sirianni to do it last year. And then this year, Kellen gets the Saints job, and all of a sudden Kevin's the offensive coordinator. So, yeah, I hope everybody was listening, because the hints were dropped. The hints were there, that this was going to be the way the Eagles went, and it is. And, he hasn't done it before. So, anytime you're a first-time offensive coordinator, first-time play caller, you're going to have to prove yourself. But, this guy's not out of left field, is how I would describe it.
I will give you guys some of the pros and cons, or some of the, I guess maybe that might not be the right word. Maybe there's some of the strengths and the weaknesses of this hire, or the concerns with this hire. John, I'll ask you, do you like the hire? You go with it? You like it?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I just said, I mean,
the thing is with me is, like, I don't like, what other option is there at mid-February, after a Super Bowl run? Like that's my whole thing, where it's like, I get it. People aren't in love with the in-house thing because it hasn't worked the last couple of times they did it. But who are you going to hire in mid-February?
Well, that's the thing that's so interesting to me about coaching hires. I mean, if we're all being honest, none of us know. I mean, a lot of people have difficulty being honest about the situation. Nobody knows. I don't know. You don't know. None of the listeners know. I mean, we're going to find out, but Kevin Patullo has nothing to do with Mike Rowe. He's got nothing to do with Brian Johnson. I mean, that's self-evident. So, I mean, going back to that and saying, the whole narrative last offseason was, well, Jalen Hurts, it's the second year. It's the second year. Why was it the second year? Because it was the second year with Shane Steichen. He finally had a play caller for a second year, really. Just over a year, and then they went to the Super Bowl. Well, right up until this year, when it was the first year.
Yeah, but the only problem with that is that the passing game, as we talked about all year, people wanted it to be better. So you could say the same excuse where, all right, well, it would have taken another year to get the passing game going. But I get what you're saying, and
they won the Super Bowl, though.
I know. There's nothing to complain about. But
yeah,
I do, from that perspective. All right, well, here's some of the strengths and weaknesses, and I think they're all pretty simple. I mean, strengths, I think continuity. I mean, you're not going to get a continuity when you're a good football team. We talk about that till we're blue in the face here on Birds 365, but you're just coming off a Super Bowl year. I don't necessarily think it's a great thing to infuse somebody from the outside with a whole new offense, a whole new playbook, and all of those things. So I like it from that perspective. I feel as though, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, you would have a better idea. I feel as though the Eagles knew that Kellen Moore would not be here too long. So maybe has Kevin Patullo been in training for this moment? I don't know if that's the right word for it, but I think that could potentially be a positive about it. He's been in the building since 21, John. So he's seen every up and down of this team with Nick Sirianni. He's been there from the start of Sirianni and Jalen's era. Obviously, Jalen was here the 1 year prior with Doug, but since the start of the Sirianni era, so that's good. And then, as I mentioned, it's mid-February. I mean, who the hell are you? Late February now at this point. Who the heck are we going to hire that's realistic and out there? But the weaknesses are never called plays, John, at any level. So you're talking about a 16-year-old driver who's trying to pass their test, and instead of putting him in a Toyota Camry, you put him in a Lamborghini SVJ, and they get behind the wheel, and you're hoping they can handle it. That would be my biggest weakness. Never called plays before, but I wonder what Jalen's role is and all that. But your thoughts on that, and the strengths and weaknesses of the hire.
Well, me, I think play calling is one of the most overrated parts of the job.
Right.
I think it's, I think most people don't realize that's done 90% during the week. And then you roll it out on game day, and there's a certain feel for it. And some guys have a certain feel in situations. Vic Fangio is a good example of that defensively, but the prep work is done during the week, and you basically look at your big menu and you pick off what you decided is the right way to go, and you break it down to situations. And one thing the Eagles are great at and have been great at since Nick got here is situational football, because they prepare for it so much. So, we'll see. And if I said it once, I'll say it a million times. It's about play results, not play calls. So.
Yeah.
If the execution's there, if the offensive line plays at a high level, if Saquon Barkley's going to run for 2,500 yards again, they're going to be just fine. They're going to be just fine. With Kevin Patullo, Parks Frazier, insert name, John McMullen, Zander, Krause, they're going to be just fine as long as the players execute at a similar level, specifically the offensive line.
How do you see Jalen Hurts' role evolving in it, John? I mean, you mentioned at the top, you win a Super Bowl as a head coach, you get a little bit more cachet, you get a little bit more say. I like to believe that's the same thing for the quarterback. Tom Brady, and I'm not to use him, there's any great quarterback. I mean, they have a big part in dictating what their football team does on the offensive side of the ball. Do you think Jalen will have more of that moving forward? I mean, you have a guy.
Yeah, I mean, well, that he already does, and he has, and he continues to be, and that's just the experience part of it as he gets more comfortable, and it helps.
But I mean, even bigger with this, because Kellen did come in at least with a resume of, hey, I've been the coordinator of 2 number 1 offenses.
Yeah, but that's about the teaching part of it. That's about the weak part of it. Like, are you prepared to handle? Like, I think the Eagles figured it out during the playoffs. Is like, all right, we're not great. The old classic hot route. We're not great with hot routes. The Eagles, they haven't been. They're not going to be. So what they do, and I'm going to spike the football a little bit. People like to spike the football. I'm going to spike the football.
Go ahead, Johnny.
What they are good at is go routes. And I said, you know what? This moron's going to blitz. Just run go routes. And they did, and it worked.
And it worked. Yep.
And I think they can take that over to every other team, because if you want to try to deal with AJ Brown one-on-one outside the numbers, be my guest. Be my guest.
Yeah,
and
not gonna work.
It's one of the strengths of Jalen Hurts as well. He's got a nice touch on that ball outside the numbers. And you've seen it time and time again. Is he going to identify a slot blitz and throw behind it? We haven't seen it yet. You continue to evolve, and maybe he gets better at it. But I think the Eagles found their cheat code, and they should pound it until somebody stops it. And I don't know how you stop it other than you take the blitz away from them, because you don't want to leave your corner on an island with AJ or Devontae.
No, the only way to stop it, John, is to play the Eagles defense where you don't have to blitz.
Exactly. And that opens up a different aspect, which I think is more of a strength anyway. So I think they figured it out. I think Kevin was a big part of that. I think that will continue. And I think, but for Jalen specifically, just the natural evolution. The more you play, the better you get.
Right.
And he keeps getting better and better and better. And that should continue as he moves forward in his career, because he's still very young, entering his prime years. It should only get better. But
it's pretty amazing to hear you say that, though. Entering his prime years, and we've been, he's taken us to 2 Super Bowls. Pretty impressive resume Jalen Hurts is building.
Yeah, and if you're going to be there certainly it's going to be, and I said it a bunch of times leading up to the Super Bowl. Win or lose, the first thing they're going to do in the offseason is try to evolve again in the passing game, because it wasn't where they wanted it to be for the most of the season. And you're going to hear all those stories again in the off season, the spring, when they get back on the field over the summer, and hopefully it gets better and better and better. And it's a little bit more well-balanced offensively, because you can't count on 2,500 yards. You'd love to say it, but you can't count on it again.
Right.
And you probably have to get a little bit better in the passing game to make up for what's probably a regression to the mean, at least. But the mean should be pretty good still with a healthy Saquon Barkley.
Yep, I agree with all that. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. The reason I said that about Jalen, John, is, we talk about the continuity all the time. And I do understand it's going to be a revolving door, but, one of the best ways, in my opinion, at least to mitigate that is just have your quarterback be more involved. We're not going to have a play calling head coach with Sirianni. They've identified that this is a better setup to have a CEO coach, which I agree with. You've been talking about that for years on Birds 365. So get Jalen more involved. If I'm the new coordinator, I'm coming in, I'm going to Jalen Hurts first. What do you want to build on? What do you want to run? What do you want the identity of this offense to be? And I would build around that. Now, that's me personally. I don't know if it works like that in the NFL. That's what I would do with the young quarterback to try and mitigate some of the continuity concerns. So at least he has his hand on it a little bit more.
Well, that to me is about the teaching aspect of it. Look, already, that's what you want. I always go to Tom Brady. Look, there's a great clip out there. I'll try to find it today where it explains quarterbacking. I've talked about it all the time.
Yeah.
Play calling and Tom explained it. Again, don't listen to me. Listen to Tom Brady. What you're doing is probabilities. All right, what does this team do on 3rd and long? And then you look at your sheet and say, all right, it's 3rd and long. We're going to run this to beat what we think they're going to run defensively.
Right.
Now, sometimes, as Tom said, you come up to the line of scrimmage as a quarterback and you're expecting man and it's zone. Well, you got to get out to make it easier for your team to succeed on that particular play. And that's where the quarterback comes into it. And if the call is based on probability, if they come out with an unscouted look, if they come out with something different than what you expected or their typical trend or what they tendency, that's up, then it's on the quarterback. And that's where I always talk about, that's how guys like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning define themselves and grade themselves. Did I get my team in the best position to succeed on this particular play? Doesn't even mean you have to succeed, because a bunch of things can happen. Left guard can miss a block. Guy could drop a pass.
Right. There's so much context to it.
But if you as a quarterback put your team in the best position to succeed on a particular play, it's a check mark for Tom and people like that. You've done your job.
Right.
Now on to the next play. Same thing. And the more times you do that, the more times your offense and your team are going to be successful.
And in my estimation, from my point of view, it looks like Jalen's making big strides in that department, John. Do you agree?
Yeah, you saw it with the go routes, man.
Yeah.
Now, that's where the help is. Like, a lot of other quarterbacks would go to, all right, they're going to send McDuffie from the slot. We're going to throw right behind it. Eagles aren't good at that. So I think I always say one of the, where they haven't been good at it. One of the hardest things to do as an NFL team, any NFL team, is to be honest with yourself. And to me, the Eagles were very honest with themselves. And they said, all right, we're not good at this right now. What we are good at is this. So if they're going to blitz, they're going to have their corners on the outside. We're just going to throw it to AJ. Now, is that the best probability play? Is it probably, probably not. But
I don't know, with AJ Brown in one-on-one.
Yeah, well, that's part of it.
It feels like he catches everything when he's in one-on-one.
That's part of it. And Jalen's very good at that particular throw as well.
Yeah, there was one play floating around social media. You could see where Jalen, I think he sent Devontae in motion. You could see that the safety was biting down. And once he read that the safety was biting or covering the guy in the flat, boom, he fired that ball deep to AJ in the Super Bowl.
And that's what they do well. And
yeah.
Do what you do well, playing now you still hope to evolve and be able to get better at the other stuff. And they'll be doing that all off season. But when it comes down to it, to win a football game, do what you do best.
No doubt about it. Real quick, John, we're going to get to Ed Kratz, who's about to join us in a couple minutes here on Birds 365. Looking forward to talking to Ed. You mentioned Parks Frazier, John. What do we know about Parks Frazier, the Eagles' new passing game coordinator, who is stepping in for what used to be what Kevin Patullo did?
He was with Nick in Indy, and another indication of what winning a Super Bowl does for you. You know,
Right.
this time last year, Nick couldn't do this kind of stuff. Just bring in people he was familiar with, knows, comfortable. You know, Jeffrey kind of insisted, we got to go outside the org, new ideas, fresh ideas. Hey, win a Super Bowl. I want Ed Kratz. I'm getting Ed Kratz.
There you go, baby. That's how it works. I think it should work that way. So that's a good thing. I don't know if do you have any fears of the in-house stuff of Nick going buddy with guys?
Not at all.
I don't either, but I got to ask it because a lot of people are out there saying it. So we'll see
I think it's amusing how many people pump up fresh ideas. Oh, you got to get fresh ideas from out. They all run the same damn stuff.
And they just want a Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's about teaching. It's about execution. Vic Fangio proved that this year. How many people have copied Vic Fangio over in the NFL over the years? It's not about the scheme. It's about teaching the scheme. Same thing on offense
and execution, right? Which is a product of good teaching. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Let's get to our quick live read, and then we'll pull up Ed Kratz. Looking forward to talking to Ed joining us here. Last I heard from Ed, you were down in New Orleans, and Ed checked in with a quick score prediction on the Super Bowl, and Ed was correct. So well done by Ed Kratz. We'll talk to him next. Let me tell you guys about the great people at BetUS. Go and check them out now. They've been sponsoring us all year. We appreciate them for that. Use that promo code YouTube150, and it gives you 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit. You get 125% on your second and third deposit, all up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, 24/7 customer support, and they'll even give you your own custom account manager. So big thanks to them for sponsoring the show today. Let's get to our main man, Ed Kratz, joining us now here on Birds 365. Ed Kratz from Sports Illustrated. Ed, what's going on, man? How you doing on this Thursday morning?
Hey, hi, guys. Good to see you again. Feels like it's been about, 5 days? Actually feels longer.
Yeah. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. I don't know if you heard that, Ed, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I read something about that earlier in the week. Some kind of parade.
Some kind of parade.
Parade was awesome, Ed. We were down there broadcasting from City Hall. At least I was. It was incredible.
Yeah, I checked in with some of that, Zander. You did a good job.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. It was looked like a great day. I mean, beautiful day, blue sky. I know it was cold and stuff, but you were part of my eyes on that parade.
I love to hear that. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah.
All right. Zander did a good job. Did Nick Sirianni do a good job elevating Kevin Patullo, Ed Kratz?
Listen, Patullo's been in Philly with Nick every step of the way, right? I think he was probably one of the
first guy mentioned. His first guy mentioned, everybody forgets it. He was talking about Kevin helping him set up coaching interviews. He was talking about Kevin Patullo.
Yeah, and I think I probably talked to Kevin Patullo once in 4 years until Super Bowl week when I spent, maybe 10 to 15 minutes talking to him because I knew he was going to be the next OC. That was pretty much a foregone conclusion at that point, just from what I had heard. But I talked to him once in 4 years. John, how many times did you talk to Kevin Patullo?
About 4 or 5, I would say.
That's
but I knew what he was Nick's right-hand man. So
yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people did. Some people did, but I knew how important he was to Nick Sirianni. I think he would have been the offensive coordinator earlier, but circumstances, they were concerned about losing Brian Johnson to other teams because he was a hot candidate at the time when he was the quarterback's coach, and they felt they had to elevate him or they were going to lose him. And then obviously last year, Nick wasn't allowed to be blunt. And he had to go outside the organization. So I think he already would have been the offensive coordinator if Nick had complete autonomy over the situation, but circumstances dictated going another way. And I always go back to 2021 when Nick got COVID, the days when COVID was a thing until the NFL stopped it. He was the guy who was going to be the head coach, if you remember. We talked to him then via Zoom, I believe, at the time.
Yeah.
because he was going to be the head coach if Nick wasn't cleared in time. And ultimately, Nick was cleared in time, but it just gave you a little window into how important he was to Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, and listen, a lot of people aren't going to like this hire just because of what you just brought up. Why wasn't he elevated sooner? And hey, the last time we went from within and promoted somebody, it was Brian Johnson, and that didn't work out well.
Right.
But every situation's different, and like you said, I think maybe Patullo would have gotten the job had Nick had the power to make that hire. But I thought they were fortunate to find someone like Kellen Moore last year when they went in search of another offensive coordinator when Brian Johnson got let go. They kind of were fortunate to find Kellen Moore. But, I don't really have too big of a problem with this because, again, I don't know a whole lot about Kevin Patullo. I do know from what Nick told us that he is the right-hand man. I mean, and that's one of my concerns is, are these two going to be able to, be hard on each other and be able to, make the right decision and the right call and put the right game plan together?
Right.
Or are they just two buddy and they won't challenge one another? I don't think that'll be the case. I think that, Kevin Patullo, when talking to him, seemed like a really bright guy in the 10 to 15 minutes I talked to him during Super Bowl week. Really seems like he's ready for this opportunity. He brings continuity, and listen, they won a Super Bowl. There's nothing wrong with continuity at this point. Last year, had you made an in-house hire after the disaster that struck at the end of the season, it probably was a problem. They were right to go outside the organization last year to bring in fresh ideas. Nick himself said the offense was stale. But there's nothing wrong with the offense now, and Kevin Patullo has been a part of this thing for 4 years, and I think it's just going to be more of the same. And he even said that he leaned on Kellen Moore with certain aspects of the offense, and Kellen leaned on Patullo. So, I think we'll see a seamless transition, and there's nothing wrong with that at this stage, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, but I just hope that, when you're sitting there and you're in the heat of the moment and you just don't want to agree with each other all the time. You want to be able to disagree,
Right.
Have a healthy argument and make the right decision. You just hope that they're just
Well,
not.
one of my favorite Nick Sirianni quotes of Super Bowl week was that he was talking about Kevin, and he said one of his jobs is to tell me when I'm acting like an asshole. And he gave Doug Nussmeier, I think it was Doug, early in the season when they were playing that game in New Orleans, the Dallas Goddard game, when the Keystone Cock game, Dallas made the big play and they were able to win the game. Garrett Nussmeier was playing at LSU, starting quarterback, Doug's son, and Doug Nussmeier didn't want to ask Nick Sirianni, hey, can I go watch my kid play? He didn't want to do that, kind of a new coach, first year coach here. And Kevin was like, yeah, tell him, stop being an asshole, Nick, go let him watch his kid. I think that's a good indication that they have that kind of relationship.
Right, that they can talk. I mean, John, you know what it reminds me of is what you just said in the opening. Being honest with yourself. It's one of the hardest things to be in the NFL, and I think that's a part of this, right? If you can be honest with each other and speak openly about problems or things, then I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. And like I said, I was impressed in talking to Kevin Patullo. He seemed like a very organized, very bright, very intelligent guy. And he talked a lot that day when I spoke to him in New Orleans about how he likes building relationships with players, which is what Nick's one of his pillars is that connection aspect. And, Kevin Patullo talked about that, building relationships. He said, listen, I can have tough conversations with players too. And sometimes they thank me for, hey, thank you for having that talk with me because it helped me. So, he's not going to just sugarcoat things with these players. He's going to be tough. He's going to draw the line between being your friend and being your coach. And he talked about relationships that he still has to this day with players like Ryan Fitzpatrick. We all know Ryan Fitzpatrick. He seemed to beat the Eagles every time they played him. He was in this league for 18 years or so. And, he's still close with T.Y. Hilton from their time together with the Colts. So, I think Jalen Hurts, that's really the thing you have to wonder at this point is how is he going to accept this? And I think he'll be fine with it. We all make a big deal out of him having 5 different offensive coordinators in 6 years, or this will be his 5th. But I think because him and Patullo have a history, they've worked together since 2021.
Right.
I think Jalen will have a lot of trust and faith in whatever it is that Patullo is going to call on game day, and that's an important part of this as well.
Ed, let me ask you this. I'm always fascinated when you get a new coaching hire like this, and I kind of went back last night. I'm looking at Patullo's history, and the one thing I think is a fair concern. I thought John had a good response for it. I'll see what you have to say. Is all the stops these coaches make, and these are hardworking guys, man. It's tough to be a coach in this world. You're bouncing around new cities, new teams, all sorts of different things over and over again. And at every stop, he's never been a play caller. He's never called plays. Now, you have kids, Ed. Imagine your kid turns 16 years old. He's got to go and pass his driving test. Instead of giving him the Toyota Camry, you show up in the Lamborghini. Do you trust the 16-year-old, the rookie, to drive an offense like this? I don't know. Is that any concern for you that he's never called plays and he's inheriting this high-powered, great offense with skilled players everywhere?
Ed's been hiding that Lambo from me. I want to see the Lambo. No, go ahead.
Yeah. I wish I had a Lambo parked in the garage, but that's a legitimate concern. The play calling, for sure. He's never done it, but there's a first time for everything, right? Someone has to be able to do something for the first time if you're going to either succeed or fail at it. And I think having been around play callers for at least these last 4 years here in Philadelphia, as a passing game coordinator, I'm sure he's had some input into devising the game plans and this and that, but has he actually had to do it in the heat of the moment? No, but you have to trust somebody, whether it's your 16-year-old kid getting behind the wheel for the first time with his, driver's license still kind of wet from being printed out. You're going to have to trust them. And that's how I feel about Kevin Patullo is you're going to have to trust him. You're going to have to trust somebody at this point as a first time, play caller or whatever it is. So, yeah, I don't really have a problem with him being a first time play caller. And it's really, there's more to it than just calling plays. Your players have to go out and execute that play call. Like he could call a perfect play and Jalen Hurts overthrows A.J. Brown deep and then it looks like a bad play call because it didn't get executed properly. So that's part of it, the play calling, but your players have to execute what's called too. And I think if he was coming into a situation like, going into the Tennessee Titans, who had 2 or 3 wins last year, they're picking first in the league, and he's inheriting this offense this is just dreadful, then maybe it would be a concern. But he's been around this offense for 4 years. It's a high-powered offense. It's hard to screw that up. So I wouldn't expect him to have too many missteps along the way here. I think he'll grow into the role. Might take him a little time, but I think his relationship with Jalen Hurts will help that evolution and that trust to build.
Now, Jalen was asked about Kevin Patullo at cleanout day. Giant mass of humanity around him. We all kind of knew by that point Kevin was going to get elevated. And Jalen was kind of Jalen. It wasn't the ringing endorsement, but that's sort of Jalen, right? He doesn't do that kind of thing, but a lot of people took it in a negative way. So I'm going to read this to you, his actual quote, Ed. He'd have a different role, talking about Kevin Patullo. So it's hard to compare that role to this role that he had now, which is associate head coach, passing game coordinator, because his job is going to demand something totally different of him. I have a lot of confidence in him. That's good. And what he's shown. However, that's not good. I know over the years, I've learned that's out of my jurisdiction. I'm just kind of taking things as they come, try to go out there and be the best I can and just learn and evolve. That was Jalen Hurts. A lot of people took that negatively. I said, that's just Jalen. That's what he does. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you go back even further, but when he started, he said, Kevin's never done it. And then he kind of stopped himself, like he was going to say he's never called plays, whatever he was going to say, but he looked like he was going to say something a little bit negative. But then he stopped himself and went in a different direction. But, it's interesting that he brought up that it's out of my jurisdiction. He's kind of implying there that he had no say in the matter at all, where, you would think, okay, maybe you talk to your quarterback. Like, hey, do you think we should elevate Kevin Patullo? We've seen you two work together for 4 years. But he seemed to kind of say, no, I didn't have anything to do with that. But I like the fact he trusts him. He should trust him. He also talked about Kellen Moore, I think, in that quote about how Kellen really helped him develop. He admitted that it took a couple games for that to happen, for them to kind of get on the same page. I don't think we'll see that with Patullo. I think they'll come out on the same page right out of the gate because they've been around one another. And I don't think Kellen's going to change, or Patullo is going to change this offense very much. I think it's just going to kind of be status quo, and they'll just continue to operate at the level we've seen. They've got a great offensive line. They've got a Super Bowl MVP quarterback now, playing with a lot of confidence. But I think that quote kind of reveals that he trusts Kevin Patullo coming in. He had nothing to do with it. He's going to miss Kellen Moore, but he's ready to start with Kevin Patullo.
Parks Frazier. I'm going to be honest, Ed. I don't know him from Adam. Never met him, but I do know he worked with Nick Sirianni in Indianapolis, and that to me is a good sign, because I think if you're going to hire somebody to be your head coach, and he's won a Super Bowl, and he's been to 2 Super Bowls, and he's made 4 consecutive postseasons, I think he should be allowed to do what he wants to do. So from that perspective, I think if he wants Parks Frazier to be the passing game coordinator, let him have Parks Frazier to be the passing game coordinator. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, he's giving a guy a shot, a guy that he knows, a guy who knows Patullo. They were together in Indianapolis too. Only 33 years old, Parks Frazier, was with the Dolphins last year. He was the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers in 2023, I think, when Frank Reich was there. Again, their connection from Indianapolis. Things didn't work out with Frank Reich. Bryce Young was a disaster in his rookie season, so he was let go. But, he's got some experience, and I think just that familiarity with the head coach and now your new offensive coordinator will help. But you're right. I've never talked to Park Frazier. Not sure how often I will. I mean, I talked to Kevin Patullo, like I said, once before the Super Bowl, maybe twice. But yeah, we'll see how that all develops. But I think the familiarity between the three of them will help in some form. Now, again, it could work against them if they're not going to push back on what somebody might be saying at the time. You have to be able to have these healthy debates and arguments, and I think they will. But Parks Frazier, we'll see. He's a young guy. He's being given a big opportunity here to come in, like Zander said, with this high-powered offense and keep it humming smoothly.
Yeah, and we'll see how it all plays out. And one of the things I mentioned to John in the open that I feel as though should be a natural progression as Jalen evolves and ages and becomes, I think he's a veteran player now. He's not a young quarterback anymore. He's been here, going on his 5th year starting. I think it's got to become more his offense too. I don't want a situation where every time you're good, a new offensive coordinator comes in and, okay, Jalen, this is what we're going to do this year with a new playbook. I'd like to see Jalen, and I think he is, to his credit. I think he's taken more ownership of the offense, and I think that's the right development if that is true. So that brings me to the quarterback coach. Okay, do you guys have anybody in mind on quarterback coach? I think it's going to be an important hire. What do you guys think about that? Ed, what do you think about that? Any inkling on which way they're going to go there? And then your thoughts on Jalen kind of taking ownership of the offense a little bit more?
Yeah, I don't know. Has Doug Nussmeier been officially named in New Orleans yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, which is kind of surprising. You would have thought that was
kind of surprising.
Yeah, so you wonder if there's kind of a hang up there. I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I guess maybe. I saw that Josina report and kind of thought it was a done deal, but maybe it hasn't been confirmed.
No.
Yeah, maybe today we get news that he's going to be named the OC, and as far as a quarterback's coach goes, I don't think there's really anybody in-house that I can think of off the top of my head. John, maybe you can, but I can't think of anybody.
No, they don't have an assistant. They had an assistant when Brian was here with Alex Tanney, and he got elevated once Brian got the OC job, but they don't have an assistant quarterback's coach. They did not under Doug Nussmeier. So in theory, that I know they love Gerard Johnson. They seem to always interview him. He's down in Houston. Played for the Eagles a very short time, I think, in training camp way back when, but they like him. They like Josh McCown. I don't know where his contract situation is with Minnesota.
All these assistants are basically year to year, though. So I would think if Minnesota's not going to bring him back. Maybe McCown. TJ Paganetti might have been a good hire at this point since he had been inside the organization. He was an offensive guy, but he left to go join Kellen Moore in New Orleans, so he's out of the equation. But Josh McCown is a good name. Hey, maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's retired.
Come out of the booth, right?
Yeah.
Ryan's a smart dude, man.
Yeah, he is.
He went to Harvard.
And he's seen a lot of football too.
He's got this great relationship with Kevin Patullo. According to Kevin Patullo, they still stay in touch. So maybe he would be someone that could come in and be a quarterback's coach for Jalen Hurts. But
there's where I think you want some input from the quarterback. I mean, that's the guy who's working with him on a daily basis, day to day. And I think you should advocate for Jalen Hurts, and but there's a give and take there, because you don't want somebody who's just going to be his friend. That was the whole thing with Brian Johnson, versus somebody's going to push him and coach him hard. He's always indicated he's a coach's son. He wants to be coached hard, but that's going to be an important role. Like, that role to me is a hell of a lot more important than bringing in Parks Frazier as the passing game coordinator.
Right.
The guy working every day with Jalen Hurts and those mechanics and things like that.
Yeah. And listen, Doug Nussmeier obviously did a good job. Hurts, we saw him improve. But, your second part of that question, Zander, about Jalen Hurts and, this becoming more his offense, I think we kind of saw that happen under Kellen Moore. I think Kellen gave him the autonomy to read a defense and check. And I think Jalen's improved in that part of it. We saw him check out of things and into different plays that were successful for him. So I think that, he's gotten to that point where, this is my offense. And if I see something I don't like, I'm comfortable enough to change a play at the line of scrimmage. I think that long touchdown that Saquon Barkley had against the Rams, that 78-yarder, he initially checked out of that play, and then he looked at Barkley, and then he checked back into that play, and they ran it, and it went for 78 yards. So, I think we are seeing this becoming more of Jalen Hurts' offense, and maybe that's why they like Kevin Patullo too, is because it's just going to continue to be this offense that Jalen Hurts is getting more comfortable with, where he can go to the line and change the play if he wants. And we've seen them do that many times. So I think we're going to see that continue.
All right, off the coaches for a second. Free agency, you talked about that 78-yard run. It makes me think about Mekhi Becton and what he was and how he helped, especially in the running game. Just that big physical presence. How many times you see on those long runs, it was Mekhi kicking out some kind of pancake block. They got 4 big free agents, the big 4. Mekhi's one of them. Zach Bond, most notably, Milton Williams, Josh Sweat. How many of those guys can the Eagles keep realistically, Ed Kratz?
I think 2, possibly. And I think I throw Becton in as one of those players, because I think he really grew in his career being here the 1 year under Jeff Stoutland, being around guys like Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson and that offensive line, very close-knit, Landon Dickerson. So he may opt to just return. I mean, this guy has made a lot of money already. He was a first-round pick. He was given a lot of money when he came. I think he went to Louisville when he came into the league as the 11th pick of the Jets. So, maybe, players to me don't typically take these hometown type discounts. They'll usually go where the money is. But I think with Mekhi Becton, the fact that he loved it here so much, loved playing for Stoutland, really resurrected his career, I think that gives him a chance to potentially return on maybe a deal that, is a little cheaper than going to another team to play tackle. And with Mekhi, you wonder about his knees too. Like, he's had this knee issue, and maybe some teams will be hesitant to throw a big money deal at him to come out and play tackle for them. So I think there's a chance Becton returns. I think he would be one of the 2 of those 4 you mentioned that would return. You would love to see Milton Williams be one of those players that come back, but because he's 25, he still is ascending. He's a homegrown guy. I mean, these are the kinds of things and traits that Howie Roseman looks for when he brings players in, is these young guys still climbing. We saw him do it with Bryce Huff last year. after 1 year, a 25-year-old kid that he thought was climbing.
He stopped climbing, Ed.
Well, he has for now, and they're kind of stuck with him, and they're going to run him back next year, I'm pretty sure. But Milton Williams is that kind of player, man. You'd love to keep him in the building, but
right, he's the exact player how he likes. Ed, and he's a defensive lineman.
Yes, he's perfect. He fits all the criteria that
he
Howie
does, except
that's the big.
He's got to pay Jalen Carter down the road. Remember, it's about more than 1 year for Howie. It's about these 3-year increments. He says they might have to pay Jordan Davis. That's a tough decision.
Yeah,
can he pay all 3 of those guys? Because Milton's going to get 20 million plus. He's going to get 20 million plus.
Yeah,
I don't know if they could do that.
I don't either. I don't think they can. And you're right. It is more than just 1 year. Jalen Carter will need to be paid. Jordan Davis, they have to make a decision in May as to whether or not they're going to pick up that 5th-year option for him, which I think is like an $11 million charge. So, yeah, there's decisions that you need to look at down the road here. So and plus it's a deep defensive line draft.
Yeah.
So, you don't have a lot of, you're not picking till number 32. You might trade back like they did after they won the Super Bowl in 2017. Maybe they try to trade up, but wherever they're at, they're going to find defensive line talent. And I think that's the direction they'll probably go, or offensive line. So, you factor that in and you think, okay, we can bring somebody in here that we can pay for 4 years or 5 years if you get them in the first round and afford to give Jalen Carter his raise. So I just think Milton Williams is going to be a little out of reach. And, he's going to take the money, and he should. He's 25 years old. But it'd be sad to see him go. And he's a real quiet guy in the locker room. He doesn't talk to many people. He doesn't say much. But he's a presence in that locker room. You can feel it when he walks around that, people respect him. The other guys, I think Zach Bowen. Yeah, I think they should be able to get Zach Bowen back. You wonder what the feeling is around the league. There's going to be teams with money that they could throw at Zach Bowen. But listen,
that's my biggest fear, Ed, is that one of these crappy organizations ruins it because you can't match them what they're going to give them.
Yeah, and he's a guy, unlike Becton, who hasn't made a lot of money. He came in as a 3rd-round pick, so
I agree.
He hasn't hit that payday yet. So, does he want to go play for one of those crappy teams, thinking that, hey, maybe I can help them get to the promised land? I'm not sure. I think the Eagles, if they want to keep him, should try to lock him up between now and March 12th.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Can't let him hit the open market.
Right, exactly. You have to see, hey, listen, again, Vic Fangio resurrected his career, found the right fit in his defense to utilize him. And boy, when you go back and look at some of the plays Bowen made throughout the course of the season, that guy, he was all over the field.
Somebody sent me his highlight reel the other day, and I watched it. I was like, man, I forgot some of these plays. He was unbelievable this year.
And it was week 1 through the Super Bowl. It was so consistent. It was like he made a big play almost every week. It was unbelievable.
I know. And listen, he's an older guy, right? I think he's going to be 29 at some point this year, who's only had the 1 year of success. So how will other teams view him when they start figuring out what direction they're going to go in free agency? We know how the Eagles view him. I mean, this guy, to me, is invaluable, and you need to bring him back. And what's that going to look like? Is it going to be 3 years, $15 million a year? Maybe that's a little high. Maybe they get him for $13 million.
It's amazing that COVID, man, because he's coming really. He was coming off his rookie contract last year with the Eagles. So
yeah,
and he's already, as you mentioned, he's going to be 29 next December.
Okay, yeah.
Normally he'd be Milton, 25, and you're like, all right, shooting star, but yeah, he's almost 30. So that's got to be. That might help the Eagles.
And the other thing I think helps the Eagles is you say to Zach Bowen's agent, "You guy had a great year. I think our defensive front helped him out. It helped him out quite a bit. He's not going to be playing behind Jalen Carter in Jacksonville or one of these other teams that's going to pay you big money." So I don't know. It is an interesting one to see how that's going to play out, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think you got to lock him down before March 12th.
Yeah, because the Eagles can say that, but somebody comes with $20 million. Guess what? Zach Bowen's leaving, so they better get him done before before March 12th, as Ed says. Now, Josh Sweat's the one guy I think he's gone.
Yeah.
I think he's gone. The Eagles made him take a pay cut last year to come back. And Josh, I don't think I saw Josh in the locker room once this year. I don't think he can even get to his locker. It's the messiest locker. It's not Michael Bennett level, but great guy. But I don't think there's acrimony, but I think that sticks with a player. And it's like, I showed you, I bet on myself. I don't think Josh Sweat is coming back yet.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. But then I think back to last year when we're trying to weigh who leaves, Sweat or Hassan Reddick. And I was on, keeping Hassan Reddick and getting rid of Josh Sweat. I thought Josh Sweat was the one that was going to go. And it turned out just the opposite of that. And they did bring him back on a little bit of an undervalued deal. But I think, listen, Sweat, again, a good situation. He's an older player, 28, he'll be 29, I think, this year. He's been phenomenally productive during his time here. He had a little bit of a down year last year, only 7.5 sacks, I think, but he really kind of came back this year and played well. I think motivated by, a contract year. I agree. I think he is gone. But he has to look at his situation. Is he going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars, like Zander said? They have all this money, or another team that has a lot of money and play in a situation.
Tony Khan, by the way, Jacksonville taking a lot of stray bullets.
Every stray he gets has been earned by Shad Khan. He has earned those strays. I'm not mad about it at all.
Yeah, I'm not either. But yeah, so I mean, does he want to go play for an organization that's 2 steps below competing for a championship?
They're a year away. They're always a year away from being a year away.
Money
a
talks.
year away from being a year away. Always.
Yeah. See, I think Sweat would take the money. I think Sweat would probably take the money to leave.
Yeah, definitely.
And he should. Listen, I begrudge nothing with players who want to take the money.
I'm with you 100%. I'll never knock a player for taking money, taking care of his family, doing what he has to do. I don't go down that road.
And I would say the B-level guys, Kenny Gainwell, Oren Burks. And I think Burks is important because of Nakobe Dean and the rehab that he's got to go through. But I don't know if you can keep him.
If you would have asked me about Burks when the regular season ended, if he comes back, I would have said, no, probably not. Why would you bring him back? He's a good special teams player. But then what he did in the playoffs, I mean, being able to step in like that, so underrated. If they didn't have him, I thought when Nakobe Dean, to be honest with you, got hurt against
I thought Trotter was going to step up and be the guy.
I thought they were doomed. I'll be honest. I didn't think they were going to make the Super Bowl when Dean went down. That's how important he was to this defense. And then Oren Burks comes in. He played like a monster against the Rams.
Yeah.
9 tackles, forced fumble, broke up a big 3rd down pass over the middle with just kind of a jump in midair and knocked the ball down. He just played great. And you didn't miss a thing with him in there. So, yeah, I think you got to bring him back just for the depth. And even if Dean does answer the bell at the start of the season next year, and we don't know, but I just think for the depth purposes, you bring Burks back on some kind of a deal. This guy has been in the playoffs 6 of his 7 years in the league.
Yeah, he's a winner.
He's a winner, right? He's good in the room. And it's what a great story. I mean, they cut him coming out of training camp and then brought him back. So listen, I think he's played his way into maybe a 2-year type of deal.
I agree.
Something like that to bring him back and keep him around for a while. I think he's a very important part of this team, and we saw that in the playoffs, but only in the playoffs because he wasn't needed much during the regular season. But when he was called on, man, he answered the bell.
All right. And my Kenny Gainwell book is, he's got to come back somehow.
I don't know about Kenny Gainwell. All right, Ed, here's the thing. You've been great up to this point. Don't fuck it up now, all right? We have discussed Myles Garrett on this show, and he's a big name out there right now. And me and John went back and forth a little bit this week. We had BLG. We talked about it yesterday. Where are you on the Myles Garrett room? Is this a guy you want to trade for? I mean, we floated some names out because the Eagles have the 32 pick. You're going to have to give a great player. I mean, we mentioned a name yesterday that I balked at. All right. I did not like it, but I understand.
Zander got upset, man.
Nolan Smith. I mean, are you putting Nolan Smith in a package for Myles Garrett? I say no. What say you, Ed Kretz?
Yeah, I don't like trading away Nolan Smith for sure. But again, he's a first-round pick who you're going to have to make a decision on at some point whether you're going to pick up his contract. Him and Jalen Carter, both first-round picks. It's going to be tough to keep them both. So, maybe you look down the road and you think, okay, well, we'll let.
Or you're going to have to pay Miles, though.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing.
Miles Garrett is Miles Garrett. That's what I get. People don't like Miles Garrett is. I always tell my Adrian Peterson story. An old personnel guy in Minnesota told me they had a good running back at the time named Chester Taylor. So I asked him, "You got a good running back. You got holes all over the place. Why are you drafting Adrian Peterson?" One of the great quotes of all time. He said, "Fuck Chester Taylor. That's how good Adrian Peterson is." That's what I'm saying with Nolan. Nolan's great.
Yeah.
Fuck Nolan Smith. If you get Miles Garrett.
Yeah.
If you got Miles Garrett.
Don't tell me it, Johnny Mac.
Well, here's the thing about Miles Garrett. Great player, but he's like going to be 30 years old. I think he's 29. I mean, he's getting up there.
But remember how he's about 3-year increments. If you can get two more Super Bowls because Miles Garrett's next to Jalen Carter, is that worth it?
Yeah. Well, here's another name I'll float out there instead of Nolan Smith. What about A.J. Brown? What if you put him in a package?
This is where I was entertained a little more because the offense with the way it's built, I don't know. I don't love that either. I'm not going to lie to you, but I
are you just giving up on it? I get a kick out of it because A.J. Brown's a phenomenal player.
John's team AJ. John is team AJ all the way. I knew I would offend you by saying that.
No, you haven't offended me at all. I think it's ironic, though, that people are like, yeah, trade AJ, but don't trade Nolan fucking Smith. What is going on?
Yeah, AJ's a Hall of Fame player. That would be tough to throw him into the equation here. But like Zander said, and this is what I'm thinking.
Miles Garrett's a Hall of Fame fucking player.
Yes, he is. You're right. But I'm thinking along the same lines I think Zander is, and it's like the way this team's built, you got Saquon Barkley running the football. You have Devontae Smith, who is outstanding. You have Jahan Dotson, who I think if, he was a starter and brought along as a starter, maybe he can develop. You draft a receiver.
The human mind is an interesting thing. It really
That's
is.
the most John McMullen response I've ever heard to that scenario.
I mean,
Sigmund Freud over here.
We're talking about two Hall of Fame guys, Miles Garrett, AJ Brown. Yeah, you can trade AJ. Nolan Smith. No. Oh God, no. He played half a year.
Hey, I'm just throwing that out there for consumption. And then look at this reaction we're getting here from Johnny Mac. I love it. Yeah, I know your team, AJ.
I hear what you're saying, Ed. Like, here's the problem with the Nolan thing for me. Like, you're the number one defense in the NFL. It made Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid look like they couldn't do anything without Miles Garrett. And you have an all young core. Like, I look at a 23-year-old or 22-year-old player in Nolan Smith.
I'm not advocating it either. I just said if you want to trade for Miles Garrett, you have to come to grips that you're going to have to give up something
that I 100% agree with. That's for sure. I just don't – I feel like that's bad organization stuff where you take a young player, you get rid of a guy who's ascending, and you go and grab an aging player. It's like the big name trap, John, is what it reminds me of. I know Miles Garrett's different. I understand that. He's one of my favorite players.
Raheem Mostert is the big name trap. Miles Garrett is still it's interesting. One of the, and I don't want to say it here because if you're going to bet, you should bet at BetUS. But one of the betting sites, we get all these emails, Ed, came out with the future Defensive Player of the Year odds for next season. Number one, Miles Garrett, and nobody knows where he's going to play. He's still number one. Number one.
Right.
He's a good player.
Rightfully so. He's phenomenal. And the thing is he gets along with all these Eagles offensive
linemen.
Oh
my God, they love him.
He's friends with these guys. When they had the joint practices in Cleveland, him and Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson.
That's a business decision, Ed, by the Eagles offensive line. I got to get friends with that guy.
But those guys
I've never seen a guy ruin a practice until Miles Garrett, too.
They were running reps against each other after practice. Garrett's showing them moves, and Jordan Mailata's lined up against them. I mean, they're just working one-on-one and having fun, chopping it up out there for like 20 minutes, half an hour after the practice ended. So, and he's even come out and say he would love to play in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Now, I would love to see it happen. I just don't know if it's possible it can happen. But again, we're talking about a magician here and Howie Roseman. If he really wants the player, he's going to go find a way to get it done.
2
I agree
ones.
with
And
that.
this year's one, next year's one, and Nolan Smith. Are you doing the deal?
Well, I would probably do the deal because you're getting a younger player.
Johnny Mac already won you over, Ed.
No,
Already.
but what's the value of those number 1 picks?
I
That
don't know.
nothing.
They're low,
30
right?
32nd, and
and
could
they're going to be
30
good next year, so it's going to be 28 to 32. Say
Right, exactly. So that's why I would do it, because my picks are at the end of the first round.
Yeah.
And, you're going to have to pay these first round picks a lot more money than you would, 2nd through 7th round picks. So you're going to have to save some money with Garrett coming into the fold.
Yeah.
That's why I would do it, because your picks don't mean anything. Do you really want a first round pick to pay him more money than you would a 2nd round pick? So I would probably do that deal, Zander, Nolan Smith. But I'd rather throw AJ Brown.
You're a smart man.
I'd rather sub AJ Brown than
Oh,
Nolan Smith.
hey, if you got to sub in AJ, I have
Sub
seen
AJ Brown. I ain't giving you.
I
two
just
ones.
think it's.
I'm not giving you 2 ones and AJ Brown.
I-
No way.
I think it's hilarious that people are. They'll think about trading AJ, a Hall of Fame potential trajectory. He's got to
Right.
do it for more. But at Kratzy, make sure you follow Ed on the X platform. Read them along with me if you so desire. SI.com/NFL/Eagles. Ed does a tremendous job writing about Parks Frazier yesterday, covering this team on a daily basis. You got to carve out 6 hours of your afternoon to talk to Daniel Jeremiah today.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Zoom call today? Is that today?
Yes.
Yeah.
At 1 o'clock today, Daniel Jeremiah. But, and this be great to talk about the combine and some prospects. But when you're picking 32nd in the draft, I mean, you really have to temper your enthusiasm a little bit.
It is a very deep, as you mentioned, though, defensive front draft. And, that's where the Eagles are going to need some help, especially if they lose Milton Williams and Josh Sweat.
Yeah. It's been a weird, like I've seen some.
And now maybe Nolan Smith.
Yeah.
Well, you're getting Myles Garrett back.
Yeah, Myles Garrett.
Then you're fine.
Absolutely. With Jalix Hunt in the mix. I heard Zander talking a lot about Jalix Hunt on a recent show. I listen to you guys. I love you guys. I think you do a great job.
Thank you. Ed. I appreciate that.
And I get recognized, believe it or not, because of this show. I was on the airplane coming back from New Orleans.
That's so awkward, man.
Some
Ed's a
guy
man of
behind
the
me-
people.
Yeah.
Ed's a man of the people.
He's like, "Are you?" Blah, blah, blah. I couldn't understand what he was saying. I was like, "No, man, no, I'm not." I was so tired. I was like a zombie. So I put my blindfold on and I fell asleep. And I got up afterward, went to the bathroom. I'm coming back, and he's holding up his phone as I'm coming down the aisle. He's like, "Is this you?" And it was a picture of me on the show. And a shout out to this guy. He could be watching right now. He was from Tennessee. Good guy. Enjoyed talking to him for a little bit, but I didn't quite understand initially what he was saying, who I was, and I was tired. But he had his phone up and he's like, "Is this you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that is me." And it was with you guys.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So, you guys are widely heard and seen throughout the land, I would say. Not just here in
Is Johnny
Philadelphia.
Mac not a people person? He's got his Birds 365 viewers come up to Johnny Mac, and he just
they do.
People love Johnny Mac. I see
know
it
they
all the
love him,
time.
and he doesn't give them the time of day. Come on, J Mac.
Yeah.
I'm a people guy too, Ed. I would love this. I love meeting the people out and about. But that's great that they recognize you. I love that.
Yeah, but just from this show. I mean, not from anything else. It's just from you guys. And Zander, I can tell you were a man of the people at that parade, man. You were
I loved it, man. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun down there. All right, Ed, we got a fun offseason ahead, man. We just talked about a lot of good stuff with this offseason. Teams coming off a Super Bowl win. The last thing I'll ask you, Ed, before we let you go, and we held you a little extra time, we appreciate you sticking around. Just your thoughts on this team, man. They made it to the mountaintop. We never talked about it after they won. We never had you back on yet until now. They did it. They made it to the top. All the things we talked about all year long. Just your final thought on them getting to it, reaching the pinnacle, and being world champions.
Yeah, listen, what a great team. I mean, that defense, you don't see efforts like that or performances like that very often in a Super Bowl. And that defense was just dominant. And, this city loves defense. So I know they love that outing. They love that performance from the defense. That Cooper DeJean pick. There were so many memories from that game, so many great moments. From the mic'd up session where Nick Sirianni saying, just call the play, and he throws the dagger with that beautiful throw from Hurts to Devontae Smith for 31-0. Cooper DeJean, I mentioned Zach Baughn's athletic interception that set up that 12-yard touchdown pass to A.J. Brown. I mean, just so many moments, just in Mahomes' face as a defense. That defensive front, no blitzing. Just really, they proved that they were the best team all year long. I think it's great that they've won their second Super Bowl in the last 7 years. But I kind of figured, you mentioned to start the show that I popped my head in and gave a prediction. I figured the Eagles are going to win. Yeah. And I thought it would be by double digits, but I just don't have the courage to go there because
I didn't either.
Same here. I thought,
I didn't have it either.
I did say if it was going to be a blowout, the Eagles are going to win it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We gave the three scenarios, John. Close game, Eagles, close game, Chiefs, or Eagles blowout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was right.
But I didn't have the courage to go blowout. I should have because I had a feeling they were going to take belt to ass, as we say.
Did you get your T-shirt yet? Did you get your belt to ass T-shirt yet? I know Zander probably did.
Yeah. I got the hat. I'm a hat guy, and I'm not a T-shirt guy. I think 6 months later, the thing's wrinkly.
I'm very. I
don't stains on it. Yeah.
I was like, give me a hat. I'm good with the hat.
I don't wear anything team affiliated. Old school. I'm Ed.
Yeah.
Not going to do it.
Ed, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it so much.
Thanks,
Great
bud.
story about the guy on the plane. I love that. Shout out to that guy if he's listening. We appreciate you, Ed. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, brother?
All right, fellas. Great seeing you.
All right.
Thanks, Ed.
Guys. You're joining us on Birds 365. Great stuff from Ed. Great stuff. I'm going to have to bust Ed's balls next time he's on. I mean, we got that on film. No, I'm not trading Nolan Smith. Johnny Mack goes on a 1-minute tangent, and boom, Ed's ready to give up Nolan Smith. Come on, Ed. Come on, Ed. But anyway,
I really mean that. The human mind is so interesting.
That was a funny response.
I mean, the people are nuts, man.
Well, let me reason with you real quick because I do. It is crazy. I mean, you're right. I mean, you got a 23-year-old guy who's played good for a half a year, and then a Hall of Fame wideout. But don't you think that the defense was one of the biggest reasons that they were so good?
Look, the defense was great. I thought, what's the number? 288. I don't know how many NFL games there are.
Were they more important than AJ was with the way this team is built?
This defense, yeah. I mean,
that's where I think it comes from.
Well, to me, a couple things with AJ, and that's right. I'm above board. I'm team AJ. I love AJ.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory as a player. To me, you're giving up if you say that and say, all right, we're just going to be a run first team, and which they just won the Super Bowl. That's, if you want to do that, that's great. I don't think they want to do that, number one. So to me, you're just giving up from an offensive perspective. And defensively, you're right. There, whatever the number is, 288, whatever it is. There were 280 plus games played in the NFL this season. None of them did the defense hold the offense out of their own territory for 9 consecutive drives. That was the first game all year. That was such an outlier defensive performance. To assume that you can continue that is kind of a fallacy as well.
Right.
Even with Myles Garrett. That was just, everything was clicking. It was just one of those days. It was just one of those days. You can't point to that game and say, look at the defense and say, we're going to expect this move. You saw it all year. It was the number one defense in the NFL, but there were moments, where guys are moving the football, and you just can't count on that kind of dominance. And again, to do it, it's interesting because, as Ed said correctly, Philadelphia loves defense, but they love it with blitzing. And they didn't blitz once. You can't count on that either.
Right.
So it was just a wonderful performance on the biggest stage for 60 minutes, but that doesn't mean that it's going to continue like that unabated. So I think you have to be realistic when it comes to that as well.
Yep, no doubt about it, Johnny Mac. John, good stuff there, man. I got a couple super chats I want to read. I want to thank everybody for listening this morning. We're going to have great content all off season, as evidenced by our show today so far. It's been a fun hour and change. I love getting Ed Kratz. Ed Kratz will always be one of my favorite guests, John. There's something about Ed that just brings the upbeat out of me. I love Ed. So we've had a great show.
He's
today.
a people person.
He is. He's great, and I think he's got great. I think he's smart when it comes to the game of football as well. Let's get to a couple super chats here. Dirty Air, what's up, brother? Hope you're doing well. I followed along on your Daytona coverage, man. Well done by you, and great of you to reach out to me. I appreciate that, man. Dirty Air says, I feel like OCs for everyone are a shot in the dark. Good ones go on to be head coaches, and bad ones get fired. You won't find a good one until you do. Sound like Johnny Mac there, Dirty Air.
And sometimes good ones get fired too. I mean, it's, to me, it's so over. The play calling aspect to me is so overblown. I can't even emphasize. And then Ed kind of said it. I'm glad he said it, because people are tired of hearing me say it. I mean, it's somewhat, you might have the great, how many times have I said this? And really, Doug Peterson taught me this, and it took me too long, so I don't blame anyone. You know, you might have the best play call ever dialed up, and, you know, the left guard misses a block, and nobody will ever know it. Nobody will ever know it. But to Doug's credit, he said, now, sometimes you called a stinker, and the players pick you up with a great play. Right. How many times Jalen Hurts does that off schedule, whatever, or AJ, you know, making a great 50-50 catch, or Saquon turning something into, you know, nothing into something. So it works both ways, but the way people act like I can, again, the human mind is such an interesting thing that I can properly evaluate play calling. This goes from Kyle Shanahan on down, Ben Johnson on down, whoever you think the best play caller in the NFL is. The fact that anybody believes that they can really evaluate that is insane to me. Insane.
That's one of the things. Isn't that one of the things, John, that makes talking about football not only fun, but you can talk about it all year, because there's so much nuance to every conversation. I mean, and you mentioned it, the human mind. I mean, everybody's got a different mind, and everybody's mind goes to different places. But everything, even just talking about a play caller, even just talking about an offensive coordinator, there's so many different ways to look at it. There's so much nuance and context that can be added. I think that's what makes Birds 365 possible, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to disparage people, because I'm saying even somebody like me who's been around the game for so long, he gets to talk to coaches and players, and I do my best after games to try to talk about specific plays and what went on. Even in that instance, I can't properly gauge what Kellen Moore did as a play caller this year, other than he won the Super Bowl, so everyone's going to deem it a success. I don't think it was that much better than Brian Johnson, personally. I think it was eerily similar. Brian
Johnson was completely scapegoated. He was not a bad offensive coordinator. I'm sorry. I'm not letting anybody get away with that. I don't think he was a bad offensive coordinator at all.
I don't believe that either. And I think most of the league agrees with that. And I think, to be honest, the Eagles agree with it. But it's just the nature of this industry.
Right. It's the circumstance. I get it. Yeah.
That somebody's got to pay when you don't meet expectations. And it might be Kevin Patullo next year, because the expectations are going to be out of whack again. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you should have, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, you should have high expectations. But if you don't meet them, somebody's got to pay.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Good stuff there. Dirty Air, thank you for the super chat, brother. We appreciate that. Caleb Brandon, what's up, Caleb? How you doing, my man? 2 super chats from Caleb. He says, nah, y'all tripping. AJ needs to stay forever. And then he says, trading AJ is ruining a dynasty. Yeah, you know what? Let me just go on record. I'm not trading AJ Brown, okay? No on Nolan and on AJ. John, I might be out of the Myles Garrett sweepstakes. I might be.
Well, that's fine. Yeah. I mean, you have to get out if you don't want to give up something. You know, that this whole garbage for superstar is
Bryce Huff and a
a,
1. Take it or leave it.
a uniquely, sports thing. Not just Philadelphia, but yeah, like your trash is, oh, Cleveland's going to bend. Yeah. I'll take that for Myles Garrett. I mean, hey, come on, guys. All I'm saying is if you want Myles Garrett, you have to give up something significant. And if you don't want him, that's fine, because I think it's unlikely that the Eagles get him. But if they do get him, they're going to be giving up something significant. So prepare for it.
Now, what other names would even be possible if we did want to entertain this? I mean, I think we named 2. I honestly don't even think the Eagles would view AJ Brown as an option.
No,
I don't. So, but who would it be? Would it be Quinion or Cooper, one of those guys? I mean, you got to talk about a young player with a lot of upside.
Yeah,
if you're going to consider Myles Garrett, because there's a lot of people in the chat. A lot of people say don't go for him. A lot of people say go for him. If you're one of the people that says go for him, we got to come up with a name that because they say go for him, and then you say a name, John, and they're like, no.
Well, that the reason I brought up the name I did is because there's not a lot of names that make sense.
Yeah, I agree.
And in theory, of Cleveland, and I have no idea what Andrew Berry would be looking for. He claims he's not going to trade him, so this is all could be for naught. But if he tries to force himself out, that type of situation, in theory, they would want an edge rusher back. Like, you bring up the corners, edge rushers more valuable as a position in this league than corners. Certainly slot corners. So, that's not even a fit, other than you're looking at a good young players.
Right.
But in theory, it's a two-way street, and Cleveland would want something back that helps them. Not that those players wouldn't help them, but they're giving up. Think about it from Cleveland's perspective.
Yeah,
they're giving up a Hall of Fame player if he never plays another down in the NFL already. One of the best players in franchise history. And that's a franchise with Jim Brown. You can't get something like that for nothing. So the Tanner McKee people and Bryce Huff people, Bryce Huff would be a detriment because of his contract.
Yeah, he's a negative. He takes away from the pot.
Yeah. And Tanner, Tanner's got some upside, but it's not like Cleveland's going to, Cleveland
John,
says.
Now that you just gave that scenario, though, where you think about it from Cleveland's side, are they even going to take the call from the Eagles? What if you're a Cleveland fan? You're going to say we took back.
Well, Andrew's going to take the call because him and Howie.
32nd overall pick, though, John.
Oh,
if I'm a Cleveland, if I'm Andrew Berry as a Cleveland GM, I'm like, that's laughable. If you think I'm taking a 32nd overall pick for Myles Garrett, no way. I want a top 10.
Well, I agree. That's why you can't talk about a first round pick and something else. Yeah. Even AJ. 32nd, because 32nd ain't 20. Never mind 10. Yeah, it's
All right, I love. Where's my guy? Let me see him in the chat, because Jason A-Team. I love you. You're one of my favorite guys on the channel, but you're about to get shredded by John McMullen. Ready, John?
Shoot.
I'd trade Dotson or Ringo.
Well, I assume he's joking, but that's the kind of thing.
He is. Jason, I don't think he is.
I'm going to give him the credit that that's a joke. If not, yeah, I mean, that's laughable. It's a good joke. I give him that.
All right, maybe he was joking. Jason, maybe you're funnier than I gave you credit for.
It's a good joke. Yeah.
And another one of my guys, Josh B. I love you too, Josh B. Jahan, Ringo, Huff, maybe Davis. But I mean, sounds like you're taking out the trash to the Cleveland organization, man.
Yeah, like I said, the human mind is an interesting thing. Now, let me emphasize this. You have to give up a relevant player. And if you don't want to, You're
I'm
out,
out.
which is fine.
I think
by
I'm
the way.
out. We had the number 1 defense in the NFL, and I think that's a big part of it for me. Where, if we were number 10, I'd be like, yeah, maybe that makes sense. You can probably become the best defense in the league and, run your way to another Super Bowl. We're the best defense in the NFL. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be next year. You have to improve and you have to optimize to get there. I understand that, but I don't know, man. Giving up these young guys just doesn't. Anybody of substance, every name I come up with, I'm like, no, immediately in my mind. Cooper DeJean, no. Quinion, no.
Well, part of that
Nolan,
is,
no. I don't even want to give up Jalen Hunt. No.
well, that's just crazy. That's crazy.
Well,
Tom.
because Jalen isn't going to get it done anyway, so you're going to have to give up more than him.
No, yeah. Yeah, all of those players are not Myles Garrett. I get the Eagles won a Super Bowl and there's incredible loyalty.
Would you do it, John? You would do it. Sounds like you would do this trade no matter what it was.
Hey, Howie just made a splash, and Jeffrey constantly talks about being he doesn't want a GM that is risk averse. This is the kind of this guy's available. Yeah. I already gave you. I'm a F every name you just mentioned.
Right.
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. This player's different. This player's so different than anybody you're talking about.
You talk, yeah. No, well, I do think, man, if we did end up with Myles Garrett, Jalen Carter, that defense would we would have a chance to three-peat, for goodness sakes. Caleb Brandon, which makes me question, maybe I should be considering what John is saying. Caleb says, I'm not going to ruin my team to get Myles, though.
That's fine. That's legitimate point.
And yeah, is there a human element to it, too, that you wonder? Like, you trade Nolan Smith, is that locker room not going to be?
I said, no, the locker room's going to be really happy because, as you know, two of the biggest leaders on this team, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, will swear by Myles Garrett, not only as a player, but as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't be an issue at all.
Here we go. Another super chat. A-Team did clarify. A-Team, all right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to rip you, A-Team. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, A-Team. He says, I meant they're the only players I'm honestly willing.
All right. I thought he was joking.
I didn't mean for Garrett. I like too many.
I actually think Jahan Dotson can play. I don't think anybody saw it.
I think I
saw
was
it a little bit in the Super Bowl.
Might be another guy I'll eat some crow on. I was out on him, and
I mean the Eagles just don't use third receivers.
Right.
I think when you compare to what's been going on in this town to Jahan Dotson, like he can play.
Yeah, well, that's part of what we have with Jalen, right? Jalen's not a progression read quarterback who stands in the pocket. He's a playmaker. So
yeah,
get into your third receiver and fourth or fifth option is rare.
Yeah, but I think he can play. And not that he's great, not that he's AJ or Devontae, but I think he's a hell of a lot better than Quez Watkins. And I think he's a legitimate NFL receiver. But probably not going to get to see much production as long as he's here with those two guys.
No doubt about it. Good stuff there, John and Mac. John, we'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, here's what I want to do with John, all right? Because we've talked about a lot of stuff as we prep the offseason here and as we kind of set it all up, all right? We've talked about Milton, Zach Barnes, Sweat, Becton. Enough, all right? We've talked about the new coaching hire. I want to ask John some of the other free agents, all right? The Fred Johnsons of the world, the Kenny Gainwell, Oren Burks, Paris Campbell, Jack Driscoll. I know there's some names that not everybody cares about, but there is an art to building the bottom of the roster, and Howie's been pretty good at it. There were some moments I think we questioned it. Isaiah Rodgers, some names like that. So we're going to talk about those guys when we come back, see what Johnny Mac has to say about some of them, who should be back, who shouldn't, what's the right move to do there. So we'll do that when we come back. I want to thank everybody for being here. Hit that like button for us. All right, we appreciate all the support on the channel as always. Consider becoming a member. We'll be doing some giveaways all off season. John, our newest giveaway that we're working on now, and I'm trying to finalize, is sending one of our members to the draft at Lambeau Field this year. So that is something we are trying to
Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
Everybody who likes football should go to Lambeau Field.
That's the whole idea around it, is that I'd love to get one of our fans, one of our members here to Lambeau Field. And John, that's all inclusive. I don't say, hey, you can go to Lambeau, you got to book your flight and your hotel. We would get them flight, hotel, a food voucher, everything to go. So that's the idea. We'd love to do that. So we're working on that now. So if you're thinking about becoming a member on the channel and you're listening to the show right now, consider it. We would appreciate it. It does help keep us on the air as well. So big thanks to all of you guys for all the support. Before I get to our break, let me tell you guys about our great people, our great friends at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Use the promo code YouTube150 and you get 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit. You get 125% on your second and third deposit, all up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more at betus.com.pa. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, 24/7 customer support, and they'll even give you your own custom account manager. So appreciate them for sponsoring the show. Go and check them out and use that promo code. We'll be right back on Birds 365.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports, the #1 Eagles Daily Podcast, Johnny Mac. We do this daily, man. I love doing it, 8 to 10 a.m. every day. If you're new listening on the show, we appreciate all of our great viewers for being here. We'll be live all through the offseason, leading you all the way up to the Combine, which is 7 days away, to the free agency period, which starts on March 12th, and to the NFL draft, which is, I want to say, 63 days away, somewhere in that range. So moving right along in the offseason, Johnny Mac, John, I do want to talk to you about some of the free agents that are not the big four. We've talked extensively about the big four, but I do want to talk about some of the down roster guys. I think there is an art to it. I think, being good at the down roster might not be as sexy, but it's important. Any names before I get into specifics, before I get into each individuals, any names of the down group jump out at you that you think, hey, get them back in Philly?
Well, the two I think most important that aren't in the big four are Oren Burks and Kenny Gainwell. Um, Burks, we talked about with Ed a little bit. Tremendous end to the season. I thought that N'Kobe injury was going to really affect the Eagles, and it really didn't because of the way Oren Burks was able to play. And he probably played himself into a 2-year deal. So I think ultimately the Eagles aren't going to be able to keep him. Plus they have Jeremiah Trotter, who they like as a young prospect, but to have that insurance would be a nice thing, but it's insurance. It's a luxury. And I'm not sure the Eagles are going to be able to do it. And then Kenny Gainwell just naturally, what I've always said, I joke, that's what Ed, some people, I'm like Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. I think Kenny's one of the most underrated players on the Eagles, and it's really important to the team and what he does. But you drafted Will Shipley for a reason, and that's what you do with backups. You kind of rotate it, keep them on that first rookie deal. And I think they're going to go in that direction. And Kenny's probably going to go somewhere where he can get a little bit more playing time. Those are the two sort of, if you want to say the top four, the big four, so to speak, are the A level. Those are the two guys that would say B level. And then everybody else is, and it might be, Oren might only get a 1-year deal. Kenny might only get a 1-year deal. Everybody else is pretty much going to get 1-year deals wherever they end up. The Paris Campbells of the world, who's very close to Nick Sirianni, I wouldn't expect he'd be back. Jack Driscoll's hurt. I mentioned that earlier this week for those significantly hurt. So he's not going to sign right away, certainly. Teams are going to want to see if he's healthy. Fred kind of teeters back and forth between maybe the B group and the C group, but he's only going to get a 1-year deal, I would think. And the Eagles should consider bringing him back. Rick Lovato, I think the Eagles will bring in the long snapper competition. I think he had a little bit of a down year, and he's getting a little bit older. Rick is 33, 34.
Yeah,
going to be 33 in September. I'm pretty sure they're going to bring in some competition for him. CJ Uzama. Eagles have made it already. They've made it pretty clear with their future signings, bringing in Nick Muse late and Cameron Latu. They need to improve the depth at tight end. And they've already indicated that with their early moves. So those are the big four is the A group, and then Kenny Gainwell, Oren Burks, maybe Fred Johnson are that B group.
Yeah, I think I like where you went there. You think BG's hanging him up, John, officially?
I do. And I expect, if you think about Kelsey's retirement and Fletcher's retirement, the Eagles had a big sort of where they invited the family in, big thing at the NovaCare complex. You're certainly going to see something similar with Brandon Graham. So, I don't think year 16 is upcoming for Brandon Graham.
Good stuff there. I love BG. It'll be sad to see him hang him up, but what a great career he has had. And he ends it with maybe ends it with a Super Bowl ring. Mr. Philadelphia, as you call him, Johnny Mac. So great stuff there for Brandon Graham. Big fan of him. The Kenny Gainwell one's interesting. I'm surprised that you had him highly regarded. Just not that about the player. I like the player too, but I more mean because they paid Saquon. I didn't anticipate them paying another running back. I mean, that typically paying one running back is typically not the Eagles.
Well, I don't think he's getting a big deal. He's getting a 1-year deal, probably, maybe 2, if he goes somewhere else. But I don't think he's getting a big deal. So, is he worth it? 1 year, $2 million as a backup? I think so. But the Eagles are probably going to go in the Will Shipley direction, which is fine.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about significant money for Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah, you're just talking about keeping him around. I mean, I do think it's valuable that Jalen thinks so highly of him and that he likes him so much.
Yeah, it's never the worst thing to keep the quarterback happy, and
Right,
that's
true.
maybe his best friend on the team.
Right.
For those who don't know, so there's something to that. I would say.
How do you see Isaiah Rodgers, John?
I think he's tied to Slay a lot. You know, if they're not able to bring Slay back, or they don't want to bring Slay back because of his age, made it pretty clear again on whose podcast was he on?
I'm on Ross St. Brown's.
Yeah. That he's going to play. He said that before, but
Yeah,
he's going to
he
play.
made it very clear on that podcast. He's like, I'm going to play another year. Yeah.
And that's not the first time he said that, but and he should. He played at a high level, but the problem is, I mean, at his age, nobody's going to break the bank for a cornerback at his age, and it's going to be very difficult to keep around. I think if it does say if it's a 1 year $8 million, 1 year $10 million, I think you'd have to take a pay cut. Number one, number two, if he does it. I think Rodgers is out. But if he doesn't, if he goes back to Detroit on that type of deal, then I think the Eagles would want to bring Isaiah Rodgers back. So a lot of it, I think, hinges on Slay.
What is he? Is he exclusive rights or restricted? What?
Who, Rodgers? No,
Yeah.
he's unrestricted. I know there's some. I think Over the Cap just didn't update their stuff
Because I was on Bleeding Green Nation and they had him as in the RFA ERFA column, but he's unrestricted.
Yeah, that stems from Over the Cap. I think because the problem is when he got suspended, his contract told, and I think nobody updated it. But he played 3 seasons in Indianapolis, and then his 4th season he got suspended. Well, he didn't get in Indianapolis because they released him,
right?
And the Eagles signed him. So that 2023 season told, it doesn't count. And this would have been his 4th season, so 2024. So yeah, he's unrestricted. I don't know why they'll update it at some point.
How do you view Slay? You think? I mean, if he wants to play another year, he's under contract, but he's got no guaranteed money left. And do you think they should bring him back? Would you bring Darius Slay back? He's an interesting player in that he still was playing at a high level, but
it's a tough decision. Tough decision because he's a team captain. He's well loved in the locker room. He played at a very high level this year. He just turned 34. He's a New Year's baby. So January 1st is his birthday. So if he comes back and they're in the playoffs next season, which is likely, he'll be 35. That is a tough decision for the Eagles because by merit, he should be back. By every ounce of understanding the NFL, you don't pay 35-year-old cornerbacks.
He's got to be the oldest corner in the NFL now, right?
He's got, that Patrick Peterson is officially out. He's got to be close to it. Oh, Stephon Gilmore.
Gilmore
is near that age. I'm not sure who's older, but he's up there. And he had a good year last year, Gilmore, but, he's already in that 1 year sort of, he's 1 year in Dallas, 1 year in Minnesota. If he wants to continue playing this year, it'll be 1 year, probably somewhere else. So Slay can still play, but nobody's going to pay a 35-year-old corner significant money.
Right.
And I would think I would think he's not valuable. He's not more valuable to anybody than the Eagles. So for Howie's standpoint, it's, the old adage in sports is it's better to give up on a player a year early than a year late. And that's why it's a difficult decision for Howie, because everything he's done for the organization. There's going to be a lot of Eagles Hall of Famers.
In this era, absolutely.
And he's one of them.
Jalen Hurts has already won 4 years.
He's got to go a little bit longer, but he's on a trajectory.
I think he's already today an Eagles Hall of Famer.
Oh, not Eagles Hall. I'm talking about pro football.
Oh yeah, pro football. No, he's not a pro football.
I'm saying Darius Slay's a pro football Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah. You think he's going to get in?
Yes. He's one of the best corners of his generation. Certainly top 2, top 3, top 4, somewhere in that range. Yeah, it's a very difficult decision because the Eagles and Howie's been through this before about maybe being a little bit too loyal to veteran players. So that's a tough one.
I'm my general gut feeling on Slay right now would be go younger, but I understand the complexity of it. I really do, because I think Howie has done a good job at making this a place where, people like to play. Yeah. And I think Howie cares about that, and he should. I think this is a people business too. These are human beings. When I was a kid, my dad used to say athletes are people who play games for a living. The people are important. The games are not. So I get it, but I do think it's interesting to see what Howie will do there.
Yeah, and he's so popular in the locker room. I had so many arguments over the years because of his personality, and people don't understand how popular he is.
With me, yeah.
All that factors into it, but again, it's coming. I don't know when the down tick is coming, but it's coming, and it's coming quick because 35-year-old corners.
Did I talk to you about Cooper and going outside? Was that you, or did I do that on Zander time after the show?
No, you talked to me about it. We've talked about that a lot. Yeah. Cooper, I tell everybody the Eagles. I've talked to the Eagles scouts and personnel staff. They drafted him as an outside corner.
Do you anticipate him moving out there?
Yeah, eventually. I mentioned earlier this week, it's not only from the standpoint of that's what he is, but from a standpoint of a business.
Right.
And that's where you get paid in this league, and that comes into it at some point. And he's so good, at some point his agent's going to say, look, this guy's going to be one of the best corners in the NFL. You're not going to pay him to play the slot, so you got to get at some point business comes into it. I'm not sure that'll be this year, but at some point it's going to come into it. And I think from the Eagles standpoint, their hope is that Ringo seizes the moment if they're moving on from Slay. This is if they're moving on. The hope is that Ringo seizes the outside position. You keep Cooper inside for another year.
Right. And
then down the road, you see what happens. But eventually, Cooper DeJean's going to get a chance to play outside.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. John, I have a list of names here of players that are under contract, players that are not, presumably not going anywhere, but maybe they could be options for trade or something like that. All right. And some of them you've already answered. Slay, we just talked about. If you had a pick, do you think Slay would be back? Yes or no?
No. I'm going to lean towards no.
Dallas Goedert's an interesting name. I don't anticipate them doing anything with him, but you don't think he could be a piece that they would use? Maybe a Miles.
I think they might draft a tight end.
Yeah,
long term. And as I said, they've already indicated pretty clearly that they already know they need to upgrade the depth.
Yeah.
And they have to start thinking about the future at tight end past Dallas Goedert.
How old is Goedert now?
30. I think he just turned 30. But
He's
if you
not a
think
trade
about
candidate in your eyes, is he? Because I saw on one website. They had him listed.
they have nothing at tight end
Yeah,
outside Dallas
I
Goedert.
agree. Yeah,
And I know they're not getting Tyler Warren. There's a lot of good tight ends in this draft, though. They drafted Dallas Goedert when Zach Ertz was younger than Dallas Goedert is now. So they're very aware. And if you look at what they did, ironically, the last time they won the Super Bowl, they moved down from 32 and then moved back up to get Dallas Goedert in the second round. They might do that same thing this year, move down and draft a tight end in the second round. I could see them doing that. But they're not counting on a rookie in a second round rookie to be an immediate starter. Or Grant Calcaterra for that.
I think the reason Goddard came up on one of the websites I was on is the, and Spot Track's not perfect, but they do have the potential out in that contract this year. So I don't know. Does he have no guaranteed money left? Is that something that's good? Is there going to be some movement there?
I can pull up his contract, but yeah, I mean, they might have to rework the deal on that, but he's not going. They're not trading him.
Right.
They don't have anything at tight end, to the point that, again, they're bringing in Nick Muse, Cameron Latu, because they don't have enough at tight end as it is. And that's the problem. And they need to start thinking about life after Dallas Goedert. But boy, his contract's a freaking doozy.
Yeah, it is.
You got 4 void years after this year through 2029. How he's awesome. Yeah, so he's under contract this year. Cap numbers $11.8 million. They probably want to get that down a little bit, if they can, if they need it. That number one, but he's not. I don't expect him to go anywhere.
I don't either. I think he'll be back. Huff, we talked about Huff earlier in the week. You fully think he's coming back for sure, right? They're not. They can't. They can't move on that contract. He's back. How about the backup quarterbacks, John? Either Pickett or McKee. I do think they do have a little bit of leverage there. All jokes aside, I mean, as a backup, where they might feel good about both of those guys. Maybe they don't. I don't know. You tell me.
I think they feel good about both of them. I'm kind of amazed, though, that there are Eagles fans who think there's this tremendous value with Tanner McKee.
No, I think it would more be trade Pickett, who's had starting a quarterback experience in the league.
Yeah,
and then you feel good enough about Tanner McKee to be the backup.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real value with either outside the organization. I think the organization is fine with both of them.
Right.
But nobody gets to see, like Cleveland. Cleveland's because Deshaun Watson's out of the mix. He's tore his Achilles again and blah, blah, blah. And they need a quarterback. And because of what they owe to Deshaun Watson, well, they need a cost-effective quarterback. Yeah, but they don't want to count on a guy who never played before. It's not how it works. And they don't have the ability.
Well, Pickett's played. There you go. I mean, that's a good example.
Well, no, I was talking about, because a lot of people threw the Tanner McKee. I'm talking about. I'm more talking about
elevating Tanner McKee. I don't think you're trading Tanner McKee.
But a lot of Eagles fans think he has value on the trade market. And even Kenny Pickett doesn't have much value on the trade market. But I think the Eagles traded for Kenny for a reason, to keep the cost-effective backup throughout his rookie contract, and he's going to be the backup as long as I think that's what they want. They value the position, and they're not ready to pull the trigger on Tanner McKee. And if they do, it'll be because Tanner outplays him over the summer, and so it will be much, much later down the road. I don't think they're going to, in March, say, all right, Tanner McKee's our backup. Remember, for all the talk, and I know a lot of it stemmed from my colleagues, and there was no inkling from the organization that Kenny Pickett wasn't the backup, even when he was hurt. And that tells you something, or it should tell you something. Like, they're not ready to pull any triggers on Tanner McKee. If he goes out this summer and completely outplays Kenny Pickett, and by that, I don't mean in some nonsense preseason game against 4-string UPS drivers. I'm talking about day to day in practice.
Oh, man.
So if something like that were to happen, it would be August down the road.
We'll see what they end up doing there. John, what about James Bradbury? Gone?
Yeah, James is gone, but
I feel like they have a complex contract with him. I mean,
well, I mean, this year it's not as complex as it was last year, which is the reason that
right.
He stuck around. But boy, nice guy, class guy, everything you could want a teammate, helped out, even though he was basically put aside. They lose $3 million.
Looks like they're going to have a big dead cap if they move on from him pre-June 1st. I think they'll
Yeah, but they can just designate him as a post-June 1st cut,
right.
And then they get $4.8 million, almost 4.7 plus.
Right.
And
take a little
savings.
Cap hit, but
and then they're paying for, they have accounting sort of $3 million in 2025 is dead money, $3+ million in 26, $3+ million in 27, $1.5 million in 28.
Man, there's
the example.
Office, man. They're wizards though with the way they do all this money stuff, man.
Yeah, there's the example of, and look, that's a lot of money to me, to most people. It's not a lot of money for an NFL team.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. We talked about most of the guys I wanted to talk about. A couple other guys out there, but nobody really of substance. Talking about guys like Jack Driscoll and some of these guys who really.
Jack's hurt. Don't worry about Jack. Well, I'm worried about Jack because Jack's
You love Jack Driscoll. You're a big Driscoll.
He's a good dude. I tore something. He wouldn't tell me exactly, but he was on a rollabout. He got hurt in practice, unfortunately. But it's another example of getting hurt in practice.
Yeah.
So it's usually when you're on those rollouts, it's usually an Achilles, which ain't good, or a Lisfranc, which ain't good. So he's going to be out for a while. And he's not going to be signing with the Eagles in March. He's not going to be signing with anybody in March
which is a tough hit for a guy. When you're a back end guy, John, those injuries are killers, man. Hopefully all good with him. Suo Blaze checks in last 7 minutes of the show here. Appreciate everybody being here. Don't forget to hit that like button. Suo Blaze says 2025 first rounder, 2026 second, and Pickett for Miles.
The human mind is an interesting thing.
That's the theme of today's show.
Yeah, no,
that ain't gonna get it done, my guy.
That ain't gonna get it done.
I don't even
remember the second round pick ain't good either.
Yeah, 64. Yeah. Well, I guess next year it's not, but this year it
59 to 64. Look at it that way.
Yeah, right. Brian Pumper checks in. Hell no, J-Mac. Who you think we get in? Chelsea Clinton? Y'all crashing out. I don't even know what he's talking about.
What is he talking?
I think he's talking about this was in Senate 926, which is right after we took a break. So we were talking about the Garrett trade. Brian, clarify in the chat. You know
what is Chelsea Clinton? Some kind of
I don't know what the heck. I don't know what.
I don't get that one, Brian. You're gonna have to confirm.
Pumper, clarify, and I'll put it back up. And a big thanks to Bird Gang Girl, who upgraded to a legend member. Big thanks to you, Bird Gang Girl, one of our great supporters here. We appreciate you very much. Well done by you. We appreciate that and all the support. Let me see if Brian followed up. No, Pumper's out in
he's out.
Kuwait, John. He's in Kuwait.
He's out.
He's working in Kuwait.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. And I think he
Kuwait City's supposedly a nice city, I've heard. So hopefully he can get there. But
I'd have to see what he can where he is. But I know he mentioned that to me because he won a jersey. He won one of our Saquon jerseys. So I think I assume that's sitting at his house where I sent it, and he's in Kuwait, has yet to receive it. But we appreciate you, Brian Pumper. All right, Johnny Mac, great show today, man. I thought we had a really good show. I thought Ed was awesome as always. And we broke it all down for the off season. We broke down Kevin Patullo and everything there. you feel pretty good about that hire, it feels like.
Yeah, I like Kevin. I knew it was coming, to be honest.
And
but,
it feels like your thoughts, and I don't want to speak for you, but your thoughts on some of the concerns that people have are overblown in your eyes, and they're not as big of a concern.
yeah, but I also admit, I mean, he's got to prove it.
Yeah.
I think people are going to be happier. I think he's going to be more honest, more open, better communicator to the public than Kellen was, to be honest. I think when people hear him talk, they'll get a good sense. He's a really smart guy, as Ed mentioned. Now we'll see. The podium's a little bit different, and because Kellen's a smart guy too, he's just very closed off and very competent, very cognizant of not saying anything. And to people like me, that's not good. I think Kevin's going to be a little bit more open, but he might get different marching orders and close up as well. But I think people are going to like him when they hear him talk because he comes across well. And that's half the battle, to be honest.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. And as far as the play calling stuff, I said, I mean, look, you don't do it until you're allowed to do it. And, there's a little bit of game day feel that Shane was good at and Vic is phenomenal at. And I don't know if he's going to be that level. Certainly I would lean towards the under with Vic Fangio defensively. But,
Right.
I think he's going to be fine. There's too much talent on this team. And I think the passing game will probably get better.
We'll see how it develops. Any I know we mentioned it earlier with Ed, but I wanted to give you a chance. Just you and I, QB coach. Any inkling on any direction they might go for that to fill that role?
No, I mean they almost have to go outside the organization.
Yeah.
And again, until Doug gets hired, we all assume it's going to happen. I still assume it's going to happen, but it is interesting. It's dragging on a little bit. Doug Nussmeier. Technically, they don't need one right now until that's official. They almost have to go outside the organization. I don't know how you pry. Again, those are two guys that they've been interested in the past, Gerard Johnson and Houston. Josh McCown, as we all know, who played here. But I don't know their contract. I always say with assistant coach, it's very hard to get contract info. And if they're under contract, that's a lateral move. They can't just come here.
Right.
So a lot is dependent. You might have to look around at assistant quarterback coaches around the league and go that direction.
Sounds like you're going to have slim pickings here.
Yeah, it's pretty slim this time of year, unless you can convince. Like if Josh McCown, but I don't know, because I bring up Josh McCown because they tried to hire him as a coach straight off the field way back in the day. And I just know how much the organization liked him. But he's a Texas guy, so it's not like, O'Connell's got a good reputation. So I'm not sure if he'd want to leave there. I don't know. Depends on.
Frank Reich as a QB coach. I don't see it.
Oh my Lord, with the Frank Reich talk. Stop with the Frank Reich talk.
Yeah,
Jesus. I tried to shut that down from day one.
You did. I think you did pretty good.
Frank is making a lot of money. And he's a former head coach in this league, and I don't think he's going to step back to being a position coach. If you're going to see Frank Reich, it's going to be as a senior offensive assistant or a consultant or something like that. It's not going to be a position coach grinding every day at his age and his resume.
Yeah, I agree with that. Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. We appreciate it. Thought we hit on everything. Your final thoughts on this Thursday edition, and then we'll talk to you tomorrow morning on a Football Friday. It's our first Friday since August or late September, early September.
Yeah, by the way, first week of the off season, the Eagles are always doing something, but good viewership numbers. So I want to thank everybody.
Oh yeah, they're great, man.
Yeah,
great. We got a great fan base here. Great people, great listening audience.
Yeah, so I want to thank everybody there, and I said the off season is going to be just as interesting as in a lot of ways more interesting, and we've already seen it. Talking about free agency, the draft. We'll have some draft info tomorrow because I'm going to be talking to Daniel Jeremiah later today.
Yeah, we're gonna be ramping that up big time soon.
Yeah, ramping that part of it up. So plenty to talk about. Don't worry about that.
And remember, everybody, the human mind is an interesting thing is the theme of today's show. Johnny Mac, great show, brother. We will talk to you tomorrow on Birds 365. Thank you, man.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. There's John McMullen joining us here on Birds 365. Great job by Johnny Mac. Great show today. Again, we've had great shows all week. Really great shows all week to start off this offseason, as we always do. Ed Kratz, I think he's my favorite guest guy. We got a lot of great people. I love talking to Jeff and Chris and all the great guys that we have on here, but I love Ed Kratz. There's something about Ed Kratz. He's a bubbly, nice guy. He's just good, just fun to talk football with. One of those guys you like to talk to. So we had Ed Kratz on. He was great. The one thing I got to call Ed out for, and I'll tell Ed this. Ed, if you're listening, are you kidding me? You flaked on that Myles Garrett trade faster than anybody I've ever seen in my life. He balked at Nolan Smith. And then Johnny Mac gives him about 8 seconds of reasoning, and Ed goes, I think I'd make that deal. So pretty funny stuff from Ed Kratz. I want to thank everybody for being here. All you guys who are great supporters of JAKIB Sports in the chat. I love each and every one of you. Bird Gang Girl, I want to give you another shout out for upgrading to a Legend member. Thank you so much. You're one of our great supporters here, so we appreciate you for being here so much. And all of you guys for all the great support. John mentioned the numbers that we have, man. Great stuff. Boulevard says the pullover. Is it vintage? This is a nice Ralph Lauren. Look, it's got the old JAKIB logo embroidered on the side. You see that? A Ralph Lauren fleece. Yeah, it's a Ralph Lauren fleece. A lot of you guys were giving me shit for my fleece. I got news for you. I don't give a damn. All right? Quit crying. Good night. Good night. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all you guys for being here on the show today. All right. We got some fun topics. On Zander time, here's what I want to talk about. All right. This is now a safe space. I hate that word. I fucking hate that word, but I'm going to use it anyway. What do you got on Kevin Patullo? How are we feeling? All right. How are we feeling on Kevin Patullo? How are we feeling on the hiring from within? How are we feeling on a guy that's never called plays at any level? How do we feel about the hiring from within with Nick Sirianni? How do you feel about Nick Sirianni having more say? It's clear he's got that say back, with Parks Frazier as your passing game coordinator. And now Kevin Patullo as your head coach. I've seen a lot out there. I had one guy reach out to me. He's like, so what's his play calling experience? And I'm like, brother, you'll be sad to know it's nothing. And he goes, you got to be kidding me. This again? And I'm like, dang, I think that might be the general feeling in the air of, on this hire. I don't really have that feeling. I kind of look at it. I try to look at it as objectively as I can. And I'm like, all right, it's late February. You won a Super Bowl. You run the risk of no continuity again for your quarterback. Like, this is the best hire, right? Like, what is the alternative? And I think when you analyze any situation, any decision like this, if you don't analyze the alternative, then you'll never find the right solution or come to the right answer. And when you look at the alternative, you look at some of the alternatives that you could have. I don't see many. It's late February. All the good coaches are hired up by everybody else. Remember, you're competing with college now, who pays coaches crazy money. So I don't really see a good alternative, which is why I look at Patullo and I'm like, he still has to prove it. But I have no problem with the hire. I personally have no problem with the hire. I will say, no play calling experience for an offense of this caliber. I do wonder, how much of that's a factor. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who knows on that front? But we will see. We will see what ends up happening there. Vulnerable Vitality, what's up, brother? Appreciate you being here. I'll take a couple of your guys' comments on Patullo in a second. Vulnerable says, sorry for bringing up college basketball, but how about those Tigers taking down your Tide? All love, Z. I love it. Vulnerable, I'm sad because we're almost at March, and I've been so focused, man, on football and the NFL specifically, dude. I have let a lot of my other sports fandom go, and I love college basketball. I love March Madness. It's one of my favorite things, but I didn't even see this. Alabama's had a pretty good basketball team recently, no? I see. You knocked us off yesterday. All right, 110-98. You guys beat up on us. Are you a Missouri guy, Vulnerable? Are you a Missouri guy? Don't tell me this. How'd my guy Mark do yesterday? Oh! Mark Sears at 35. And he still lost. Come on, Alabama. I love it. I appreciate you checking in, bro. Flexion says, if you're nervous or scared, get a dog. Flex, you don't think I'm nervous or scared, do you? Flex, I know you're not talking about me. Are you, Flex? You ain't talking about me, Flex. Brian Pumper. MF, we promoted the passing game quarter with the 31st passing attack. This shit is comedy, Z. Brian, we won a fucking Super Bowl, dude. It sounds like you care more about the numbers of the passing attack than you do about the success of the football team. They won a Super Bowl. What are you talking about? Again, with the vanity bullshit. Here it is. It's going to be happening all across the NFL ether. When you see some of the stupidest people who talk football on Twitter and the 14-year-olds who have 84 different Twitter accounts who share out why everybody's a dumbass. Here's a prime example. Brian Pumper, I appreciate your support. Brian Pumper, you sound like a fucking idiot. 31st ranked passing attack. They're Super Bowl champions. Bro, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? I mean, dude, come on. Flexing checks in. What's up, Flex? Following up. I'm talking to nut asses like A and others in the chat. Hey, what did you do? Hey, what have you done to piss Flexing off? Hey, what are you saying in the chat? Are you being a dumbass in the chat? He's calling you a nut ass. Dakota, what's up, Dakota? One of our newest legend members. I appreciate you, bro. If you can't coordinate this offense with these players, you shouldn't be a coordinator. So we will see. At least if it works, he shouldn't be poached for a couple of years. And don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes up on that. A says, Zander, I better get a cut. Hey, you ain't getting shit. You ain't getting shit other than a comment on the screen. I better get a cut. A cut. What the fuck you talking about? A cut. A cut of what? A cut of what, eh? What do you want a cut of? YouTube's already taken 50%. What do you want? Jojo says, how do I send money? I want to be called an idiot today. Oh, you don't need to send money, Jojo. You're an idiot too. I'm just kidding. I love everybody. All right. That's part of what we do in Philly. You can tell that we have a lot of, I think this is unfortunate, actually. I'm a Philly guy, so maybe it's unfortunate for me. I don't mean to talk shit on anybody who's not a Philly guy, but we got a lot of people in here you can tell who aren't Philly. You can tell they just are not Philly. Like the people who cry when I call them out, or the dude who cried about Cilio ripping him the other day. Like, bro, we love hard, we fight hard, we curse each other out. It's what we do. That's what we do in Philly. I mean, these people don't get it, A-team. Look at Abe, a North Carolina nerd. A North Carolina nerd. And then all you HKP, another nerd. Another nerd. What up, David? Hope you're doing well, bro. What up, bro? Flexen says a boner for me is hella sus. I didn't even want to read that part. Gilpin says, sorry, I missed most of the show. Can I get a rundown on the new offensive coordinator? John feels pretty good about it. Promoted from within. He's been here since 2021, so he's been here with Jalen Hurts since the start of Nick Sirianni's tenure. So I think that is a benefit. You know, he's kind of seen, he saw Shane, he saw Brian, he saw Kellen, he saw both Super Bowls. He's been here for it all. So, and then the downside of him, Gilpin, would be never called plays at any level. So he's got no play calling experience despite his involvement in the offense. And it's another promotion from within. Last 2 times we've done that was Mike Groh in 2018 with Doug Peterson. Didn't work out. And 2023, Brian Johnson didn't work out. So, you know, those are your only downsides. Look at Abe. Look at this fucking dweeb. Abe, you dweeb. Zander, you went to Bama. Be quiet, nerd. Yeah, fucking greatest school ever. Greatest school ever. Are you mad we're champs? All right. Abe, you sissy. Come on, Abe. Abe, I don't want to rip you. You know, I want to rip other people. I don't want to rip you, Abe. Same thing with HKP. I don't want to rip you, HKP. You won our chatter of the day yesterday. Today you might go on the shit list. Eagle Nest, I'm thinking about putting you on the shit list too. Twiz, you're a shit list. No, I couldn't get it. Villanova? Twiz, do I look like a guy who could get into Villanova? Twiz, I barely got into Bama, bro. Now, the funniest part about me is I got excellent scores on all my standardized testing. I got like a 30, 31 on my ACT. I forget what I did on my SAT. I know it was at a 2,400 back then. It's not at a 2,400 anymore, right? I think I got up close to 1,900 or whatever, but I had like barely passing grades at the prep. Barely passing. I just didn't like school. I just don't like authority. I don't like people telling me what to do. I never liked teachers. I never liked any of that crap. But my standardized testing would show you that I'm a lot smarter than my grades would insinuate. I'm a lot smarter than the grades would insinuate. I'm still laughing at Pumper bringing up the 31st passing offense like we didn't win a fucking Super Bowl. Xander, did Shane call plays in Indy before coming here? Right? Good question, Prince. I don't think he did, right? Was Shane the play caller in Indy? No, he wasn't at Indy. He's at Indy now. He was in he wasn't at Indy, Prince. Where was he? Chargers? He was Chargers, right? Was he Chargers? I think he was. Let me look it up real quick. It's a good question, though, Prince, because, you know, people make a big deal out of shit, and then it's, like, not a big deal. Call plays in Chargers. Yeah, he was Chargers. I was going to say, I thought he was Chargers. Yeah, it looks like he did call plays. And I'm looking back on an article from 2019 right now from the Chargers.com website. QB coach Shane Steichen assumes offensive play calling. Okay, so this might be when they fired the coordinator. Yeah, they fired Ken Weisenhunt, and then Steichen called plays when Anthony Lynn was the head coach. I don't know if he was the play caller the following year, though. I don't know if he called plays the following year. Brian Pumper checks in. What's up, Pump? J-Mac also said Bradbury was going to have a comeback year, huff an elite pass rusher, and called Saquon mid. J-Mac's word is not bond. Yeah, but your word, Brian, you don't want to go down this road, do you, brother? Really? Brian, you can't possibly be sending that super chat without any level of self-reflection, right? I mean, you are smart enough to think about what you just said, right? I mean, Pumper, you're not wrong about Johnny Mac, but you are you using that noggin, or is that noggin has it been removed in Kuwait? I mean, Pumper, you got to be kidding me. The dude who's been more wrong than anybody maybe on planet Earth about the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, he made Celia look like Albert Einstein when it came to the Philadelphia Eagles. He made Celia look like Einstein talking birds. And this guy wants to call out a couple things that Johnny Mac was wrong about. Oh, come on, Pump. Come on, Pumper. You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. Which one, Macalea? A lot of comments make me stutter. Everybody's a flip-flopper. All right. That's what you learn when you talk about football every day. You know, the best part about it is all you guys are flip-floppers too. Yo, JoJo, I can go on the channel right now. I can search up your username and I can probably see the flip-flops that you've had over the years. I do it all the time. It's one of the funniest things I do in the back end is we have funny-ass people who comment, this guy's a moron, this guy flip-flop. And then I search their name. I can read all their comments on the channel, and I absolutely crack up at everybody's comments. Oh, look, this guy said he was a trash can in 2021. Now he praises him and calls out other people. That happens all day. So I see it all. You're not getting it by me. You're not getting it by me. Eagle Nest says, Zander, you think we're the second favorites for Garrett because Howie's trying to drive the price up for Washington? No. Well, maybe. I mean, that could always be a thing. JoJo says, I challenge you. That's good, JoJo. I think that's good. I think that's important. I'm cool with being challenged. Jay Koch says, flip-flop these nuts. I don't know, Jay Koch. You don't look like you're worth my time. I like JoJo. He says, I challenge you, Zander. All right, good. That's good. We'll see if you got anything of substance, JoJo, because so far you're striking out. You know, it's one thing to challenge me, but it's another thing to have substantial comments that make a difference, that make a change, that entice people to think and use their interesting human mind, as Johnny Mac called it. So far, JoJo, I've seen nothing to confirm or deny. I will keep my eye on it. Eagle Nest. I don't really think that Howie is Eagle Nest. I want you to go and listen to something. All right, I'm going to give you some homework, Eagle Nest. Nothing crazy. Howie Roseman was on Jason Kelsey's podcast, I want to say last year or 2 years ago. And Jason asked him a question specifically about handling people coming into the organization, trade candidates, stuff like that. All right, Eagle Nest, I honestly, I think you'll like this. I didn't do homework either when I was a kid, Josh B. Do I look like a guy who did homework to you? Teacher gave me homework. I showed up. It was never done. Never once in my life. It's part of the reason why I almost failed out of school. All right. If you go and listen to Howie's comment, and you don't have to listen to the full interview. It's a 2-minute clip. I found it on Twitter. And he basically explains that I will always be in the conversation because I never want to wake up one day to a trade and I didn't do my homework, or I have to explain to the owner, Jeffrey Lurie, why I didn't make a trade because I didn't do it, because I wasn't prepared. I didn't have the option. All right, so Howie's always going to be in there. Here's JoJo. Let's go back to JoJo. JoJo right now is the leading candidate for the what did I call it yesterday? Where's HKP? Where's HKP? What did I call it yesterday, bro? The chatter of the day. And what was the bottom one? What was the bottom one? Look at this moron. This guy. I've never seen a guy talk in so much moronic terms in my life than Dick Track. Zander is a big liar, a spoiled brat. J-Mac said broken CMC and King Henry were better than Saquon Barkley. He's developing altimeters. First off, that doesn't even make sense. Second off, keep watching, dickhead. You're watching me. Nobody's watching you, bro. All right, you're watching me. Dick train. That's just another weird comment. People, what is up with the weird comments this week? We had one dude saying I was going to kill myself earlier in the week. Weird comments. This guy says, choir boy that got molested as a child, right? You're not talking about me, are you? Who are we talking about here, Jay? Well, I don't know why I give some of these comments the time of day. I really shouldn't even click on them because you can see how much of a fucking moron Jay Koch is. All you got to read is his name. All you got to read is his name. Jay Koch. The fuck is that? Shitty name, shitty takes, shitty comments, shitty channel. And again, sounds like a shitty person based on that comment. All right. Sounds like a shitty person as well. Philly07 says, Zander, do you have any idea what type of deal Beckham wants? You know, he's the one guy I think who would take a discount. Because I truly believe that there's a human element to this. And when I listen to Becton talk, I think he truly did love Philly. He truly did love Philly. It's one of the places where I feel like he really did rejuvenate his career a little bit. And I could see him taking a discounted deal. He knows he's got the knee. Remember, he was also a big first-round pick. So I hate to talk about the money thing, but he's been paid pretty well. So I could see him coming back. I could see him coming back. This dude is such a fucking loser that thinks he knows football, and I hardly ever watch your gay ass show. All right, that's a good comment. I actually love that comment. Oh my God, that is funny. That is funny. Oh my God. All right, Jay Cock. That is funny. I hardly ever watch your gay ass show. And here he is. Here he is fighting for my attention. I gave you it. Here's your attention. Here's your attention, Snookums. Okay? Oh, man. A-Track, all these guys, man. We got so many nerds in here. Jay Koch, that triggered you, didn't it, Zander? Must have been getting reaped as your whole life. Bro, what is wrong with you? What is going on inside that head of yours? That's your first comment you make on a YouTube show where you don't disagree with or where you don't agree with somebody's takes on a sport. On a completely 100% inconsequential sport. That is your take. That's your comment. And you think I'm the weird one? My brother, I hope one day you gain some knowledge and some wisdom in life, and you look back on this moment and you read the comment that I have displayed on the screen right now, and you say, what the fuck was I doing? What was I thinking? That was such a weird thing to say and do and think. I hope that happens to you in life, because you're not a guy I would ever want to spend any time with. All right, you goofhead. You're a goofy guy. Jay Cock. Let's go to Eagle Nest, who's got some good Eagle topics today. Not a keyboard warrior like Jay Cock. With the way the cap projected to keep exploding to 2028 and the media deal getting renegotiated to 28 to have the cap potentially explode more, we could absolutely sign these guys in backload contracts. And they're going to do that. That's part of what they do, right now, Eagle Nest, is they keep signing these big contracts. Howie factors it in. By the way, this is just good business. This is good business right here. Howie has guys, based on all the data we have in the last 20, 30 years, you can very easily identify trends and project how much the cap's going to go up. Then you also have the Netflix deals coming in. Did you see that Netflix wants to buy away a Sunday game from either Fox or CBS? Like, dude, that money's going to get so big that this league is going to, the cap is going to keep exploding. Howie's going to keep exploiting it and doing what he does as well. And it's going to work out well. So I think the cap's going to continue to go up. I was pretty excited about how much it went up this year. You're talking about 20 to 25 million. It's about what I projected. You remember Eagle Nest? I said it yesterday in the chat. I think it's going to go up 20, 25 million. And it did. So pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, that's what people, flexing. Those are the type of people I pray for, because you come in here, you project on me, you try and shit on me, you make me, you hope to make me feel bad about myself, which I'll never do. All right. But I don't apologize for who I am. I don't apologize for the way I act. I don't apologize. All right. They hate that. People don't like confident people. People want you to cower and become what they want you to be. So whenever you dismiss that, then they start the name calling. That's what they do. And the other thing that people do, which is very funny, that people do, is they antagonize you. All right. They say some shit to get attention. They all want attention. That's what people want. They fight for attention. And then you shit on them back. And then they say, I got to you. No, bitch, you just called me out. So I called you back out. Oh, you're emotional. No, I'm not. You just got called the fuck out. It's hilarious. Philly 500 was saying something about with Cowboys fans yesterday, doing that, where they bring the Eagles up and then they get mad when we mention them back. It's like, no, you came into my chat. Brother, there are millions of shows on YouTube happening right now. There are millions of videos being posted as we speak. There are thousands on the Philadelphia Eagles. Dick Track and Dick Cock come in and they watch my show and want my attention. It's like, I think you're the broken people. I appreciate you, Jones. Good stuff. Good stuff. Zander, you owe YouTube and JAKIB fans an apology. I don't know, you shit, Dick Track. Yeah, instead of Dick or Jay Cock, I called him Dick Cock. Bruce. There might be a pause there. I'm sure I'll get a pause on that. All right, I can't go too long on Zander time today. I got to run. I got a bunch of stuff. I will give people an update on the giveaways. I shipped out most people. So yesterday, Prince, I shipped you. Crowley, I shipped yours. Chasen, I shipped your jersey. And who else? What other jersey do I have? Prince shipped. Crowley shipped. Zach Lambert shipped. Chasen shipped. All right, those are all the jerseys. And then all the JAKIB merch orders, I'm getting there. All right, I got to close the budget for the month. It doesn't close till a couple of days. So let me close the budget for the month, and then I'll get it to the next month, and I'll be able to get all that out for you. All right, so I have my list of names: Texas T, Joe High, Bombay Trippy, Chasen, and then Brian Fleming. I'm going to get you your Tim thing too. So I got everybody. Don't worry. All the jerseys have now been shipped. Abe, your prize from Pat's show. Did you win one? I don't deal with them, Abe. It's not me. I send the addresses to Pat, and he ships them out. So you got to tell you, Abe. Email me if you won one of. I don't handle any of the Pat stuff. I can't. I can do what I can, but yeah, I don't handle that, unfortunately for you. All right. Unfortunately. Now, Blue Virus, he's one of my favorite Cowboy fans. You know, Blue Virus came in. He started talking shit. I talked shit back, and here we are. Now we're buddies. Blue Virus, I appreciate you, bro. Eagles fans are softer than this Cowboy fan. Jay Koch, how does it feel to be softer than this Cowboy fan? Dick Track, how does it feel to be softer than Sharman, softer than a Cowboy fan? How does it feel, brother? It must stink. It must stink. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. All right, we had a lot of suspect moments on a very short Zander time today. All right, here's what I got. I only have one. Well, no, I have two jerseys left. But I think I'm going to do both of them tomorrow. What's up, Blue? Hope you're doing well, man. Appreciate you checking in here. I got two jerseys left. I got a Cooper DeJean. It's no Super Bowl patch. It's Kelly green. And I have an XL Saquon with the Super Bowl patch in midnight green. So I have two jerseys to give away. I can't, Nugget, I can't yet, all right? I can't yet. I got to close the budget, all right? I got to close the budget. John P. says, hook me up, Zay. I'd love to hook you up, John, but you got to be a member, bro. And if you can't, that's fine. Look, I don't like to make it all about that. I know not everybody's got a lot of shit they're dealing with, so I never bash people for that. But I only do the giveaways to the members, man. You know, unfortunately, money is what keeps us on the air. You know, cash is oxygen in business, and it really helps keep us on the air. So I try and give back to everybody, but you know, the giveaway for the jerseys specifically is always going to be for the members. Legend member, I'm going to do a legend member tomorrow. We're going to do the Saquon Super Bowl jersey is going to be a legend giveaway tomorrow, and I'm going to do the Cooper DeJean jersey as all members. All right, as all members. And then next week I'll be giving away more. JAKIB merch as well. But like I said, I got to close the budget, you know. JAKIB merch, sometimes giving away JAKIB merch costs me more than jerseys does because I bought all the jerseys in bulk, and JAKIB merch, I got to go straight cash, homie. Prince, I'll no comment on that. You already know how I feel about that. You already know how I feel about all the soy boys. The soy boys. What are we at? How many likes are we at, HKP? How many likes are we at, bro? Where's my boy? Akbar's in here. What's up, Akbar? We got a lot of great members in here right now. Yeah, Philly 07. I kind of love it. I'm not going to lie to you. Look, I had a great season. I didn't want it to end because I was so high from the season. I was riding a little bit of a high. It was my first season on the air, first season broadcasting, and the team went all the way. And then just to close it on Friday in the city, overlooking the city of brotherly love. By the way, all these haters, all these Jay Cock, Dick Track, C69, all you losers. Why, when I'm out in the city of brotherly love, on the streets, open to talk to anyone, where are you then? Huh? A-Track, where are you then? If you're Philadelphia, where are you? If you hate me so much and you're Philly, all right? If you're Philly, where were you? Huh? Where were you when I'm out in the city? You're an internet warrior is what you are. You're a chat warrior. You hold no regard in my mind. Yeah, keyboard warriors is the perfect word for him. Blue Virus checks in. You know what's crazy is me and Philly 500 live in the same town. That is crazy, bro. That is crazy. Philly 500, are you a Cali guy then, Blue? I guess you're a Cali guy, right? I think Philly 500 is out in Cali. I think he's out in Cali, right? You must be a Cali dude. I've been to Cali once in my life. Twice? Once in my life. I was like, I want to say I was 17. My boy from high school brought me because his brother lived in Beverly Hills and he was trying to be an actor. And he brought me out there. Let me see if I can find a picture of me out in California. Look, there's me at the Beverly Hills thing with my friend. There's me at the Beverly Hills sign. There you go. I was rocking a polo. Same guy as as a youngster. Why is it not focusing? There you go. Nope. Come on, focus. Camera won't focus. Camera won't focus. I was rocking a nice white polo shirt. Looking pretty fresh, to be honest with you. All right. That was me out in California. What else did I have in California? Those are the only time I've ever been to Cali. HKP, don't worry, bro. I got them on lock. But I don't get pictured with them, HKP. You know better than that. You know better than that. Let's see what else I got. Look, there's me at the Santa Monica Pier. Chilling. See it? What's the date up there? October 11, 2015. October 11, 2015. Yep. There you go. That's when I was out in California. Naples is waiting. Yes, it is, Joe. I got to get down there. I still love it now, man. It's my favorite brand easily. I love polo. It's expensive, but I don't care. Yeah, this is Jay Koch for sure. For sure. A man wearing a dirty tank top is eating microwave pizza, typing away on a keyboard. There's no doubt. No doubt. No doubt, man. Dakota Warren. What's up, Dakota? Thanks for becoming a legend, brother. You know I love you. Best Eagles season ever. I love that Jalen shut everyone up. Scary for the league with how young this team is and how good Howie is. Yeah, look, big offseason, though, for Roseman, right? I mean, getting to the top, or at least the climb to the top, is important. But once you get there, it's a different beast when you got people chasing you. All right? It's a different beast when you got people chasing you. So how will Howie handle this offseason? You know, that's going to be a different thing. All right? That's going to be a different thing. Blue Virus, I will absolutely do that, man. I love meeting the great people who watch us. You know, even guys like A-Track. I'd love to meet A-Track, but he wouldn't do it because he's a keyboard warrior. You know, I love meeting everybody. That's you know, the people are the most important part of this business. But Dakota, you're right, man. You're right about Jalen shutting everybody up, and you're right about how he's got to have a big offseason here, though. Macaulay, what's up, Macaulay? I hope you're doing well, my man. He says, looking forward to keeping up with the offseason with you, Zander. Keep up the good content. Thank you, brother. We'll have great content all offseason. I love the offseason. You know, even when I was a producer, I loved the offseason because there's a little bit more room for creativity and stuff, you know, and you can, you know, not everybody can handle it. I'll say that because you bring up one topic and people act like you're like shitting on everybody. You're not, but there's a lot of subjectivity. There's a lot of ways you can go, a lot of speculation you can go, and I have a lot of fun with it. So it should be good. I'm excited to do my first full off season now. You know, I took over after the draft last year, so like I want to say May. A-Track, you won't be A-Track. Save it. Seriously, A-Track, save it. I guarantee you, I could be right in the middle of the city. All right, you are not I would bet the channel that you will not be there. I'll be at the next event. Dick Track, you ain't gonna be anywhere. Oh man, that is some of the funniest things I've ever heard. Same thing with Jay Cock. Oh, be there. No, you won't. You're a keyboard warrior. No, you won't. Lie to me. Don't lie to me. You want to shit talk me? You want to call me all the names or whatever you were saying? Fine. Don't lie to me. I can sniff your lies from a mile away. I don't like liars. I'm not a liar. In fact, I'm truthful to a fault. And I don't like liars. I don't like liars. Don't lie to me. A-Track. You went from name calling to lying. I think lying is much worse than name calling. Be a man of your word. Be a man of your word, A-Track. Blue Virus says, how long have you been on YouTube? Well, I started the channel 4.5 years ago. And I was never on screen though. I was just a producer. We hired a bunch of people. My dad was in radio he's been in radio for 40 years. So we decided to team up and I'm like, Dad, we can make a lot of hay on social media. And he's an older guy. My dad's like 60 years old. So he didn't really understand social media. So that's where he came in with his media knowledge. And I came in with, I think I can make some hay on YouTube and in the digital game. And then we hired a bunch of hosts. Not all those hosts were a lot of bad business decisions. I'll admit to that. A lot of learning experience that went on, but it's ultimately evolved. And then I took over hosting this year. It's been a lot of fun, man. But this is my first year on the air. So, but I've been managing YouTube for 4.5 years, for 5 years, really. It'll be April of 2021 is when Birds 365 launched. So was it April 21 or was it April 2020? Prince, I hear you. Yeah, Prince, I'm completely numb to that. That doesn't scare me anymore. Never has. No, it did in the past. It doesn't anymore. Kyle says, Zander, the cap's going to be at 277. Yeah, they said, 277 to 281, somewhere in that range, which is great, Kyle. That's great news for the Eagles. I mean, anytime you see something like that, Kyle, that's good news for a team that spends money. It's great news for a team that spends money. So it's really good. It's really good. It's really good news for Howie. But here's the thing about Howie. That wasn't news for Howie, and that's what makes him good at his job. He knew that was coming. So that's what makes Howie good at his job. He's ready for this stuff. I truly think he's the best GM in football right now, and it ain't really close. It ain't really close, and that's one of the big reasons that we got a big advantage here. So good stuff. All right, I told you guys I'm going to do 2 giveaways tomorrow. We'll have a regular member giveaway tomorrow. And then we'll have a legend giveaway tomorrow with the Saquon Super Bowl jersey. And then starting next week, I'll do more JAKIB merch giveaway. You know, I got some great ideas, and I don't want to say too much because I don't like to say too much before, you know, things are in works. But I told you guys some of the things I wanted to work on in the offseason, and I'm going to be working on a lot of those things. All right. I'm going to be working on a lot of these things. And I got some exciting things in the works. So, Abe, I might be reaching out to you because I think you can be a big help in what I'm trying to work on. And we'll have a lot more things. This is the start of this channel. I know we've been around for 4.5 years, but this is the start. You know, Bob Brown said it to me in the post-game show, and, you know, he said, you're going to remember this as the start of JAKIB. And I, you know, Bob, I've been thinking about that comment ever since you said it to me, and I think you're so right on it. And I'm super excited for what we got. So a lot of good things coming. I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff for the people. You know, the entire goal is, one, it's make great content because that's what people tune in for. And 2, it's how can I do more things to make this YouTube channel your favorite YouTube channel to watch? I know that's a tough feat. I know there's a lot of great YouTube channels out there. I know you guys spend a lot of your time on YouTube, I presume. I do. I'm a YouTube watcher. I love YouTube. So that's my goal is how can I make better content and how can I make the time that you guys spend watching this channel, even for guys like Jay Koch, even for guys like A-Track, even for guys who hate me or don't like me or think I'm whatever name they can come up with. How can I make this a better spot for you guys to watch? So that's some of my goals for the offseason. Slagger. Slagger says, I'm addicted to YouTube. My wife is getting pissed. Bro, I don't watch TV, Slagger. I watch YouTube. It's funny. It's funny. I do this all day, Slagger. And then I get off, man. I get off and I go on YouTube. I go on YouTube. Like, I got to watch some of the other channels I like. Matt D says, Barrett got me hooked listening to the Off D-Gun. That's cool, bro. I appreciate you sticking around. All right. ZK's the man. Your wrenches are some bitches, though. We're going to have a revamp of the wrenches. All right. We're going to have a revamp of the wrenches. Every wrench could potentially be stripped. Every last wrench could be stripped. We will see. All right. We will see. All right. So I appreciate all you guys. M. Reyes says, start doing skits. M. Reyes, I gotta hire you for that. You know, you got the Jalen Hurts jerseys to pull off. I can't do all that, man. I can't do all that. Bird Gang Girl says, I only come to YouTube for this show. Bird Gang Girl, I love you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I know you're one of my great supporters. You know, JAKIB has supporters. Cilio has supporters. John has supporters. And I'm now building up an army of my supporters. And I do appreciate that. I will say. All right. I will say I do appreciate the people who support me, the people who show up, who wanted to meet me. It was cool to meet. So that's a natural evolution of what I do here. So I appreciate it. And it's cool. It is cool. You know, it is cool. I will say this, something that's just a personal note. I love this a lot more than I thought I would. I really do. I love this a lot more than I thought I would. It's mostly driven by the people, though. It's really not like the Eagles. Like, you know, a lot of people reach out and they're like, you have a dream job. You talk about the Eagles. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really think that's the dream of my job. And it's not a job, by the way. It's a business. Every dollar I make goes back into this business. You know, it's a job for John and for Cilio. They're profitable every month. All right. For me, it's a business, you know, but the best part about what I do is not talking football. You know, it's being able to talk to people, connect with people, you know, resonate with people, find common ground, find differences as well. I think the differences are beautiful. I mean, the one thing I love too, another thing I love about JAKIB, I feel like we're a melting pot for all sorts of different people, right? I mean, we got all different types of people. We've had a bigger presence from even women this year. I mean, maybe that has something to do with your boy Big Zay. I don't know. I think so. But we got people from all over, man. We got people from all over that watch, people from all different walks of life. And I think that's pretty cool. You know, I think that makes for a good discussion. I think that makes for a good atmosphere, good debate, all sorts of different things. So it's good stuff. I appreciate it all. Sue is right. Yes, Sue's been here for a long time, you know, but HKP, you know how it goes. All right, wait, I got to dub a winner today and a loser. I think our losers are obvious. Kyle, 100%, bro. Kyle says, Zander, you're going to be doing a live stream on draft. 100%. Doesn't matter if I'm here or Lambeau. I'm going to be live all draft night. All draft night. Are you kidding me? You kidding me, man? You kidding me? Shit, I lost my train of thought, Kyle. Kyle, you knocked me off my... Oh, winners and losers. Winners and losers. All right, losers. Who are our losers today? Pretty easy. Dick Train! I'm waiting to meet you in Philly. Now, A-Track, I'll be looking forward to meeting you. In fact, I won't even call you Dick Track or A-Track or Gay Track or whatever you want to call it. All right? I'll call you A-Track. And if we do something in the city of brotherly love, which we're going to be doing a lot more of, okay? We're going to be doing a lot more stuff in person, remotes. I want to meet more people. I had too much fun at the parade to do that once a year. That's not a once a year thing. That motivated me. Like, I love meeting people. All right. Pumper, I might put you on the loser list today. You had a bad day, Pump. Not your best day, Pumper. And Jay Koch is easily a loser today. I mean, he was crying. What was he crying about? I never watch your show, but here he is watching my show. It's funny. People like that are funny. You know, it's like, we had one dude who commented on one of our videos yesterday after the fact, and I'm reading it. He's like, every time I click on this channel, I leave. Goodbye. And I'm like, are you announcing your departure? What is this, an airport? You just need attention. You just want attention. You want to feel validated. You aren't confident enough as a human being to make a decision and stick to it. You instead need to be validated by strangers on the internet for what you decide to do. I get such a kick out of those comments. All right, who's our winners? Bird Gang Girl, winner number 1 today. She upgraded to a Legend member. All right, Bird Gang Girl, winner number 1. Congrats, Bird Gang Girl. You know, eventually we're going to do something like if you get the winner of the day, you get something. If you get something. I can't do that yet, but maybe I'll order like 1,000 JAKIB t-shirts. That'll cost me cheap because if I buy that many, they'll be cheap. And then I can send them out when I pick a chat winner. That'd be fun. And it won't cost me too much, so it's reasonable. That would be cool. Or a JAKIB hat, not a bad idea. Hats are a little more expensive. I could probably get tees for like cheap. I don't like shit tees. That's the thing. I hate shit tees. Like for anybody that bought a tee from the JAKIB site, I use Comfort Colors because I think Comfort Colors are solid t-shirts. They wash well and they're good. So I'm not going to buy cheap-ass t-shirts. Let me get another winner today. Eagle Nest, I'm going to go with you as a winner today. I thought you brought up some good topics with Howie and the cap. And your takes on Garrett I thought were warranted. Maybe not that one, but you had a neutral day. I came in suggesting AJ for Garrett, but I think I recover with the rest of my takes. All right, I'll give you it. Maybe you didn't deserve a winner today, but I'm giving you it anyway. And I'll give Siglord, even though he's a gray. Siglord as a winner. Look, you said thanks before I even gave you a winner. All right. There you go, Siglord. Congratulations. Yesterday was Prince and HKP. They were funny yesterday, man. Them dudes had me. I was laughing about what those dudes said. Yeah, there you go, Emirates. That's the point, dude. That's there you go. Look, I'm not a t-shirt brand, so I'm not gonna have the best of the best. But I don't like to sell shit. I don't want to sell shit. I'm happy to hear that you like it, Emirates. He says it doesn't get little holes like shitty old Navy shirts. It's good cotton. There you go, Emirates. And thank you for all your support, man. I love you. You're one of our great guys here on the channel. So we appreciate you. All right, everybody. Thank you all for listening. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. And by the way, for those who listen to podcast, don't forget to download our podcast and leave a review on the podcast. We're going to be doing a lot more with podcasting as well. So all of our shows, if you don't know, they do get published to the podcast platforms. And I had a business conversation the other day and someone said I'm missing out on podcasts. So it's another thing I'd like to build this off season is the podcasting platforms and potentially posting out interviews and stuff there. So if you're not subscribed to the podcast, go and do so. Subscribe, leave 5-star review if you like the show. If you don't, I'm not going to tell you what to do. And leave a little review for me and Johnny Mac. So we appreciate that very much. Thank you all. See you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate, inside the locker room, and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.